Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace episode 70, a special Saturday edition. We wanted to make sure we could get in all the big news of the week before we kicked it off, and we do have an awesome show today. Lots of big games we've been waiting to talk about, in some cases, a decade. But on the docket today, we're going to talk to you about the Game Awards, and I've been playing Final Fantasy 15, and I'm going to share my impressions with you.
And it's real, it exists, we've played it, we're going to give you our first impressions of The Last Guardian. And we're going to talk about the new trailer for the game that everybody loves but nobody knows anything about, Death Stranding.
And last but not least, PSX just wrapped up its big press conference. We're going to talk to you about all the big news. Let's go! Greetings, Sifters! Hope you guys are having an excellent Saturday. I'm sure a lot of you guys are just coming off the big PSX 2016 Sony press conference. I know it was a mad scramble for us getting in here, getting the show ready, getting all the B-roll ready from the press conference to run into the show.
Sony does not skimp.
Yeah, it's been insane. Sorry we're a little bit late kicking off the stream today, but we really, really got it up and going as quickly as we possibly could. So we're not going to talk about PSX just yet. We're going to save that for the end of the show. We're going to kick things off talking about the Game Awards 2016. This first topic, we're going to talk specifically about the awards themselves, and then we'll get into some of the games that were debuted in the show and their own topics after that. So, Matt, you and I, veterans of video game television for 11, 15 years, however long we worked in television. We've both been a part of award shows at various points. I worked on the VGAs for 7 years, worked on G4ia before that at G4. What were your overall impressions of the Game Awards?
Well, I thought they were on the right track last year, and I feel like they took a bad detour this year to some degree. It felt a lot more like a big commercial overall. And like the funny thing is like, I think I can't remember every award winner, but I think I agree with all of them. Like,
the awards I thought were good.
Like the right games won for the most part, as I say.
I saw a lot of salty fanboy tears over Uncharted 4 not winning Game of the Year.
Well, I'll give you a double whammy on that one. Number one, I didn't think Uncharted 4 was all that great, and number two, Overwatch is not my pick for Game of the Year personally, but if you're talking about like a game that impacted the industry the hardest, like Overwatch is pretty much your safe pick there.
Yeah, because
I can't disagree with that.
I can't either, because what you're seeing is all these other games trying to mimic it, and you're even seeing games like Call of Duty, which is quote unquote sort of the industry standard for first-person shooters, starting to move in that direction by having sort of more character-based. And I wouldn't even be surprised if the next Call of Duty really is straight up character driven. And so I totally agree with you on that.
I want to see a wacky toon version of Captain Price.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked though if something like that happened.
Yeah, totally wouldn't blow my mind if that happened, or if it was like test bedded in like the zombie mode or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I actually really enjoyed Overwatch. I played the living crap out of it. Your girlfriend loves Overwatch more than like anything.
I think she's on her like third or fourth prestige. She's like 700 hours played or something.
Yeah. And I think that's also another sign that Overwatch is probably the right choice in some ways, is that it has really crossed gender boundaries, and women, men, boys, older gentlemen, everyone's playing this game and enjoying it. And I think that's where the character-driven part of it comes in, is that everyone can find a character that resonates with them, where you may not find that in another shooter.
I've never seen a game where people were so invested in the characters that did not have a story mode.
Yeah.
Like, all the lore comes from outside media sources, and like the community eats it up. They write their own stuff. Blizzard draws from the community for inspiration for like where to go with the different characters and places. Like it's this amazing like piece of synergy that like Blizzard is always really good at anyway. But like this is their biggest game ever, 20-some million players, bigger than
saying something when you're
bigger
talking
than World
about
of
Blizzard.
Warcraft ever was.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it's not free to play. Everybody paid $60 for this thing.
Yeah, and they're going to keep paying.
Yeah.
For it. I mean, it's not a game.
Oh, I know. Those outfits are must-haves at all times. I'm well aware.
It's not going to go away either. It's a platform that is going to continue to evolve over time. And I think that's something else that is kind of one of the big changes for 2016 and 2015 in a way, was kind of the transition year to that. So publishers are looking at games as like these 5 to 10 year things that live on, and they're not just like here today, gone tomorrow.
And I was also happy with was it Action Game that Doom won?
I think Doom won Best Audio.
Doom won like Best Action something.
Oh, that's their shooter category.
Shooter category, yeah.
And see, there's a caveat with the Game Awards. It's like, so your game of the year is Overwatch, and then Best Action Game, which is technically their best first-person shooter.
Right.
They give it to Doom.
Yeah, but that's kind of like the call every award show makes. Is like, do we not double up on the best in genre winning being also getting Game of the Year?
That's bullcrap, though. I mean, that sacrifices the integrity of your awards.
Well, I think if you make it clear ahead of time that that's how you're not doubling up on it, like you're saying this is the best shooter. And also, it is possible, I think, to say Doom is. But see, the problem is they name it action. If it was just shooter, I could see like Doom is the best shooter game we played. Overwatch overall as a phenomenon and experience is the game of the year because of the impact.
But that's hard to argue because Overwatch doesn't have a campaign.
Yeah, but Doom doesn't matter.
What do you mean Doom doesn't matter?
Doom came out, we played it, it was great, it's over. Overwatch is going to be part of the cultural zeitgeist for years.
I completely disagree with this. I think if you award the
I'm
best game...
I'm not saying I endorse it one way or the other. I'm saying that's the theory behind that.
And look,
that's the way Jeff decided to go with it. Probably because it gives one other company another award. But
right, and there's some kind of pandering thing going on there. It's like, look, if you don't want to have an award show where every award it's Overwatch, then just don't broadcast all the awards that Overwatch wins. Broadcast some of the other ones.
Well, they certainly didn't have a problem not broadcasting awards.
Yeah, I mean, how many awards were actually in the 2+ hour show?
I can't remember. I was like 6, maybe.
Yeah, it seemed like 6, maybe 7
and some
awards
of them were
total.
good. I mean, look, the best moment of the night for me was That Dragon Cancer developer
minus the intro from iJustine and the dude from the Game Theorist. That is...
Yeah, well...
Dude, do your frickin' homework. You are going on a show that's being broadcast all around the world. Conceivably, tens of millions of people are going to watch this. You know what award you're presenting. You can't look at all the nominees of that award and make sure that you're handling it properly. Like, dude, it's like they yell bingo whenever they announce the name. And then I'm sure the guy comes out and is in tears, like, accepting the award. I'm sure they're like, oh, my gosh, what did we do? Like... What you should have done is done your research and realized what that game was about. You don't go, that dragon cancer!
Also, cancer's in the title.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think it is?
I mean, maybe they're talking about, the zodiac sign. I don't know what they were thinking, but a really embarrassing moment.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the intro. I'm talking about the guy's speech when he accepted the award.
It
was great.
Yeah.
They had a weird thing where the camera kept lingering on iJustine during it. And in fact, at one point, it was showing him from the side with her in the background, and the camera rack focused to her while he was talking.
No pun intended.
Yeah. What are you doing?
The rack focus.
Focus on the guy who's giving the speech. What is? But it was a great speech, and it was kind of a nice moment that you're probably not going to see.
It looked like he genuinely did not know he was going to win.
Well, he certainly didn't have his speech notes up.
He had it on his phone.
He didn't think he was going to get it.
Which I can't say about every award in that show.
No.
You can tell some of the awards that people knew beforehand that they were
pretty sure. Yeah. Sure. But that was the realest moment and the nicest moment, I think. I could have done without the obviously what you said before, and also after, where Jeff is like, that's the kind of thing that this show creates. And
he said that
or something like
that. He said that over and over again.
And it's just
that moment. And sometimes there weren't moments.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jeff was off to me. I mean, he was good. He delivered everything great. He's a great presenter. But there just seemed to be something underneath the surface with him that I can't put my finger on.
I didn't get that. I mean, I thought maybe his voice was a little off. Maybe he was getting over something.
That
a little
could be,
sick.
maybe.
Because at first I thought it was just because he was choking up giving the Kojima award.
Which he did.
Well, he certainly did. But I think he was angry about what happened to Kojima that Kojima was.
He was angrier about it. And Kojima's the one who sat in a room by himself for 6 months.
Yeah. But I've heard of that happening in other game developers in Japan too. That that's how you you basically get rid of somebody is like you put them in a room and then eventually they either quit or you just say go away.
Right.
There's like a word for it. There's an actual word for it.
Oh,
Like
really?
putting like the old employee that like isolating them and just sort of like making their life like socially miserable until they sort of give up.
Right.
But his voice still kind of had that sort of cracking timbre to it
A bunch
later
of
on.
times, yeah.
So I mean, my assumption was that he was maybe sick because it is December. It's the time, and he's been working really hard. It's the time of
Yeah.
year to kind of come down with something. But you know him way better than I do, so.
Yeah, he was just really emotional. I mean, Jeff's a pretty even-keeled guy.
Yeah, well, I said it to you when we were together later that night at Benson's that like it felt like I was almost expecting the end of the show to be him announcing that there was not going to be another Game Awards.
Yeah, that was kind of the vibe I was getting. It felt like something.
There was like a dirge quality.
It felt like something had gone wrong or had gone astray or something wasn't working out the way he wanted. Look, I'm totally just I have not talked to him, so I'm totally just inferring this. This is not information.
I didn't see anything. I mean, the production was fine. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't. I didn't see anything.
The amount of people there.
Well, yeah, there weren't many people there, and I know that that bothered him last year too.
And there appeared to be less this year
Yeah.
than there were last year.
I mean, the production team, I think, was doing exactly what they need to do. That team has done a lot of award shows, both gaming and not gaming. I mean, they're pros at what they do. Probably should have tightened in the jib shots.
Yeah.
Which, for those who don't know, is like the crane.
It's
the
the
crane
crazy
shots.
camera that like it goes all over the place.
Yeah, you can see the whole room and it swoops around and stuff. But like, you don't really want to use that too much when like the back 2/3 of the theater is empty.
Yeah. I think the problem probably is that they had a director working on this who Jeff probably worked with on the VGAs that he hired in for it. And, usually that guy directs award shows where you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
It's not something that would enter your mind as a director of those shows.
Yeah. And
it's also not his job.
Yeah.
Make
It's
sure
not
that-
his job to fill the
Right,
arena. It's his
exactly.
job to shoot it well and
Yeah.
direct it well. And I feel like they did that. One of the big pushbacks I've seen from players who watched the show is that they felt like there was too many ads. Total Biscuit did a big thing about it, complaining about ads and ads inside ads, which I am not sure what people are talking about there.
I think they meant that like you would have things where like Bosman would do the thing with the guy in the Schick Razor outfit, and then you'd go straight from there to Hayslip, showing you an Assassin's Creed movie trailer, and then from there you go to like one of those commercials that was baked into the broadcast. Like there were large stretches where it felt like they were trying to sell you something that didn't involve any content.
Yeah.
And then compound that with the fact that a bunch of people didn't like one music act or the other.
Yeah.
And like there were stretches where people were saying like, there's like 20 minutes of stuff I don't care about here. And I understand that. Like there's a lot of weird the Schick stuff was weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of the stuff they had Bossman doing was...
Yeah.
What were they doing?
I don't know.
It's like,
Well, I mean, they were selling us shit that we don't want, but like...
I don't care about that.
yeah.
The bits just weren't funny or clever. And,
Jeff... I'll say this. I am thoroughly entertained by the fact that they put a man in a Razor outfit. Like,
Yeah.
not like in a positive sort of like, hey, I'm going to buy a Schick Razor way, but I'm
Right.
just like, wow, that's ridiculous.
How did you come up with that?
I want to see more of that, Like I want that guy to go on tour around the country and we follow him.
But it's like, Jeff
my
worked
new
with us.
hero.
Jeff worked with us at G4. We had great writers on X-Play. And that was what the show was. We came up with bits like that were around games, but weren't offensive to gamers or weren't stupid. Okay, some of them were stupid. But the ones that were...
We specialized in stupid.
that was actually kind of our style, was that we
Right.
tried to do things that were so stupid that they were funny. But I don't feel like any of the stuff in this show got to that place. Like, they were just stupid, a lot of it.
Yeah, I would mostly agree with that, yeah.
And so I wonder
what
why
was
Jeff didn't hire, like, our friend Blair, who wrote for X-Play, or our friend Guy Branum. Like,
Because they're all working on other things.
I mean, you could have them come in and punch up something for a
Maybe.
day or something. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like a missed opportunity. I have no idea who wrote the show, but
I don't know. But like,
it wasn't. The writing was not great.
And there's a lot of weird things, the Allison Hayslip, who was doing the backstage hosting for interviewing people, but also doing the pitches, the tosses to the Assassin's Creed stuff, movie stuff. And then at one point, I think it was the director of Deadpool, like basically called her out for being too enthusiastic.
Yeah, what was up
something.
with
like,
that?
What the hell was that?
That was
like,
really bizarre.
Like that's her job to do that.
I'm
Like,
wondering if the guy was just annoyed that he had to be there.
Maybe. Or
And
maybe
he's like, he obviously knew that he was a part of like this marketing thing that was going on, and
yeah, and maybe he thought, he did the Deadpool movie. He's like super edgy and
Right.
He's
trying to stay in
I'm going to
character.
break the fourth wall
Right.
and call out how ridiculous this
It was
is.
just
and
awkward.
you just made basically like looked like you were trying to sandbag this
it made
woman
him
who's
look
trying
bad.
to do her job.
Yeah, it was not professional at all. And I agree with the music acts. This is great.
The Doom thing was great.
The Doom
yeah.
stuff was amazing, but why do you have the other two groups on there?
I don't know.
I mean, what was the one line, the one rap that was it? Run the Jewels.
Run the Jewels had
What
my
was the
favorite
one line
lyric.
that they
Was, picture this: I'm a bag of dicks. Put me to your lips. Which I made everyone who came over that night like watch that because I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, and like I'm not.
None of it was censored too. They
No,
just
no
ran
censorship
it,
whatsoever. And I'm trying. And I'm also not trying to say Run the Jewels is bad because I don't.
No, they're
I
actually
don't.
really good.
They're
Yeah.
I just don't know what they were doing there.
It makes no sense.
Like you got to tie. It's like there's a lot. There's also a lot of like there's a lot of musical performances in the Oscars that stop everything dead too. But they're all related to the awards.
Yeah.
And Doom is related. And they did that thing where they had not to promote Imagine Dragons, but they had Imagine Dragons and Koji Kondo on piano, and they did Zelda
amazing,
stuff.
yeah.
It was great. Like more of that, and less of like just here's a band that maybe you've heard of.
Well, then last year they had Quiet.
Yeah.
Who they had that whole orchestration thing going on.
And Dead Mouse, who didn't seem to want to be there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like even if you can't find like somebody who can come in and do something related to the game from that year,
right?
So what? Like, bring in the guy who made the Hotline Miami soundtrack and have him like debut like 2 new tracks or something. Like, at least there's some kind of a tie-in other than a song may or may not have been on the soundtrack of Madden.
Right. And that's what I mean by like how the whole thing feels like a commercial without attempting to at least pretend it's an entertaining me,
Yeah.
Like it's just got this quality of like, well, all these things don't have any thread beyond you want me to buy them.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same thing with like, everybody wonders, well, why is it happening in early December? Because then you cut off the end of, Final Fantasy 15 couldn't be a nominee. It didn't deserve to be a nominee of anything, but it couldn't be a nominee because it came out too late. It's like, well, because it's supposed to be advertising these games to you for the holiday shopping season.
Yeah.
And they want you to buy them while they're still $60. Unless they're Titanfall 2, when not even it's not $60 anymore already. But like it's just very transparent the way it's presented in that way, and I think it could be dressed up a little better. And I thought it was last year. Like last year, I'm like, I see this maybe developing into something that has legs and some merit and some kind of a grounding in what it's trying to do. And I thought that just all went out the window this year. And I don't know why. Like I can't pinpoint a specific place where I said oh my God, this has all gone to hell. Yeah. It's just like the tone and just like the reluctance to present the awards on camera, and they did it last year too, but it was worse this year to me. Maybe not being in the auditorium, where it was just like you just like, oh, by the way, this also won multiplayer. It's just like
It was a lot closer to the Spike VGAs this year,
Yeah.
even more so than the first year.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't as
more sponsors this year.
More
I think.
sponsors, but it didn't. There was a couple years in the VGAs where it just had sort of this contempt for gamers that I didn't feel from this at all.
I thought there was a little bit of that. Like that one bit, I think we have footage of it, Sam. It's of Kyle with a wig on.
Oh, I don't think I was paying attention at that point.
There was a couple lines in there that kind of strayed in that territory a little bit of like, I'm like the loser gamer at home on the couch type thing. Like, But I agree.
I wasn't, by that point, look, my attention span only goes so far with this stuff, so if I walk away during one of the musical acts, I might miss something later. But
yeah,
I don't remember that part, but if you say... I vaguely remember seeing Bosman in a wig on the screen, but I wasn't listening.
Yeah. So what would you give as an overall letter grade first? And then, secondly, do you think they should come back next year, and do you think they will come back next year?
I'm going to give it a D+.
Ooh.
I think they will come back next year. And I think they should come back next year, but I think they should really reevaluate how they're going to present this to people. They should have a little more confidence in the fact that their awards should be the awards that you present on the screen. I don't care if someone doesn't show up. Some of people were theorizing, like, well, maybe, they didn't. If someone wasn't in the audience to accept it, they didn't announce the award. Just do the thing that every award show does and say, like, they couldn't be here tonight, but we accept this in their stead, and thank you very much. Like, it's just because the awards are never going to have any cachet if the presentation doesn't make them important.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't feel like the presentation makes the awards the important part. They make the ads, the commercials, and the product tie-ins the important part. And I like to see, again, I think, the DICE Awards already kind of are that in some ways. And they're not glamorous, they're not sexy, because there's a bunch of developers getting up and talking about, these things
Developing.
they won. But I'll tell you this, especially after what we saw at the Game Awards, I'm going to be watching the DICE if they stream. I don't remember if they stream. They do stream now, right? I'll watch the DICE Awards because I'm going to guess that Dragon Cancer is going to win something there, too, and I would like to see what that man has to say. Again.
Yeah.
And again, I think, and I don't think I'm alone in this when I say that was the highlight of the night in terms of something that, as a person who plays games, that I'll remember. And as someone who plays games, like, that's a message I agree with. I didn't play that Dragon Cancer, but I might now, because I really liked what that guy had to say, and clearly it was a real thing to him. Not that I doubted it was a real thing before now, but it was just I feel like. And I also felt, bad again for that. There was a controversy we talked about back then where I was like, people were just putting full playthroughs up on YouTube. And I'm like, I feel like maybe I'll go buy that game and play through it just to support that man because,
he deserves it.
He deserves it, and he got to me in that, and I appreciate that.
So I'm going to give it a C. I don't think it was terrible. To me, a D or a D minus, that's terrible. And I didn't find it terrible. I thought there were uncomfortable moments. I would agree that it was kind of a revert back to the old ways of doing Game Awards shows. Not completely. No. Maybe people need to go
Sam
back
Jackson
and
didn't
watch.
stride out and say, "Hey, what's up, dorks?" We're not in that territory.
I think people need to remember what the Spike VGAs were for a couple years.
For sure.
But I am disappointed in some ways because Jeff and I fought those battles with Viacom Corporate for years trying to create a show that the players would want to watch. And I felt like, when the first couple years of this awards show, he was striking off in that direction and was starting to strike the right balance. So it's a little disappointing to kind of see it go back in time a little bit. Should it happen again? Yeah. I think our industry needs an award show with, like it or not, this high of production values, this much flash. Like it or not, it does kind of legitimize our industry a bit, and it ultimately could get some more casual people into it, which will help everyone if there's more money coming in.
I really think, because everybody brings up the Oscars or whatever as the comparison point. There is no comparison point there because it's the nature of who's giving the awards out is just too different. But I think they should really look to the BAFTAs as sort of not a template, but as sort of an inspiration as to how to sort of deal with this idea, because those aren't like the top level awards of various things, but they are respected, I would say. Yeah. And I think you can get this, the Game Awards to that if you make it about the awards more.
Yeah.
And I know you need sponsorship to get this thing on the air. This thing is not free. You have to. Yeah. You have to pay the bills, but putting the Schick razor guy in the front row with Bosman is not the way to make you. It's bad enough when Ellen orders pizza for everybody at the Oscars, and then takes a Samsung Galaxy trademark selfie with everyone, But at least you're kind of it's entertaining because the people involved in that somewhat are people you're there to see.
They're celebrities.
Right.
That's the big difference is. Right. In movies and television, the people that do it are celebrities. In games, other than us, nobody gives a crap about the people who make them. And that's the bottom line.
But I extra don't give a crap about whoever the people that got to sit in the front row with the Schick All Access Pass are. Yeah, so it's there's better ways to do that. Or just put up the logo. It's brought to you by Schick. You don't have to,
But see, you do have to do that if you want the big money. And so I'm going to say, whether they will come back next year. I said whether they should and whether they will. I honestly think that's 50-50 because, again, this isn't information that I got directly from Jeff, so don't quote me and say, oh, Jeff said this or that. But looking from the outside to me, again, as someone who's worked on a lot of these award shows, I think what happened this year is what Jeff had to do to keep the awards alive.
Keep the lights on.
I don't think he would have done this unless he had to. And I think what you saw in this year's show is the bare minimum that Jeff needed to do to make them financially viable. And honestly, I don't see it going back to the old way if they continue. And I think that's a question that Jeff is going to have to figure out is like, do I want to keep making these award shows with these elements in it that people are complaining about and some people are offended by just so I can make a profit on these things? Is it worth it? And to your point about saying just put up the Schick logo, like, you'll get $10,000 for the show for doing that. You do these goofy things on stage with the Schick guy, that's where you get to like $200,000 in a sponsorship instead of like the lower amounts you just get from flashing up a logo. So will they come back? I think it's 50-50. I hope they do.
Maybe suggest get a smaller theater.
Yeah.
Don't blow the whole thing on renting out LA Live.
Yeah, he should just go into that room that's like a block away where Nintendo used to do its E3 press conference for a couple years, where it's literally like 400 or 500 people. But it's a cool space. It pops up at the end, and there's like a bar up there. Like, it could be a lot more casual, a lot more fun. It could look packed and like exciting. I get that he wants to make it look big, but when more than half of the seats are empty, it's just counterintuitive.
But it's like you got to, it's like they say, third-party candidate can't just suddenly win the presidential election. You have to start local, and you got to build your way. You got to outgrow your venue before you move to the big one.
Think
basically.
globally, act locally. That's what they always say.
Now, not as small as like the VGX one, where it was like a basement somewhere with Joel McHale.
Yeah.
But like, man, that sure was a weird show
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Not just because Joel McHale, but it's also where the whole No Man's Sky thing started. And I mean, so that night
live in infamy.
Lives in infamy for sure. Early December, look out.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Now we're going to start talking about some of the reveals and the games that were shown at the Game Awards. I think we could all agree that considering Jeff had to compete with PSX, which was 2 days later, he did a pretty good job of securing content for the show.
Because clearly Sony was not an option.
Yeah, I mean, him getting, and we'll get to it in a second, Death Stranding, when I'm sure PSX wanted that so bad. That was a huge win for Jeff.
Yeah.
To get that away from PSX. But first we're going to talk about The Legend of Zelda
Well,
Breath
how could
of the Wild.
Kojima say no when he looked at him that way?
Yeah.
I saw someone on Gaff, I think it was, posted, I want a friend who looks at me the way Jeff looks at Kojima. And I was like, that's a good way to summarize that.
That is a good way to summarize it. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Couple of the reveals.
Yeah, so there was a very weird, they had a new trailer which debuted in the pre-show.
Yeah, which
so
I
when
didn't
people
even
started
see.
watching the award show, it had already been.
Yeah. It was part of the countdown.
Yeah.
And like because I was waiting for it to start. I wasn't watching the pre-show, but I was waiting for it to start, and suddenly someone in a chat room I was in posted like new Zelda trailer, and I was like, what? And I looked it up, and I opened up the YouTube link, and I'm like, did I miss the show? Is the show on? I
have like my time exchange wrong.
And I hadn't, but I was like, my brain didn't even consider the idea that this would not be part of the main show.
Right.
And it's weird.
It's
a great trailer.
I am baffled. It's the best Zelda trailer so far.
Yeah.
By a
Shows
mile.
you a ton of
it
stuff.
actually finally shows something off besides the frickin' overworld. It actually has some mystery to it. People are wondering who's the female character. The one character
or
that
are
you
they
see,
two different female
Right.
characters? Like, that's probably Zelda, I'm thinking.
I love the clenched fist there at the end. But like, and then here's the gameplay that they actually showed in the show, which was just more of the frickin' same. It's like, I am so tired of looking at overworld crap from this game. Like, show us a freaking dungeon.
There might not be dungeons.
There has to be a dungeons in this game.
I want to agree with you.
There has to
but
be.
I don't trust these bastards.
I mean, they haven't shown us one yet.
No.
It's crazy. Not even in a trailer where it's like a montage. Show us like two seconds of one.
Can you at least agree if they don't show us a dungeon on January 12th, we're in trouble?
No. I don't think I could ever admit that a Zelda game's not going to have dungeons.
See, now I have an image of like the game's out, we've been playing it for a month, and you're still looking for dungeons.
People, that'll be the big thing. People looking
There's a
to try to
dungeon in
find,
here somewhere.
We found one. It's like the big story for a week. They found a dungeon in Breath of the Wild.
I mean, I'm 90% sure there are dungeons in this game.
There have to be.
But
I mean,
Wind Waker only had 2 of them.
a 3.
2.
Really?
I mean, people count certain things as dungeons in that game that
Yeah.
I don't consider to be dungeons.
Well, I mean, look, these shrines are not dungeons.
No, that's just like a little...
I mean, they take like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, they're definitely not dungeons. I think most people would agree Wind Waker had 3 dungeons, though.
What's the third?
I don't know. I just remember when I reviewed it, there were 3.
I remember being like...
And if you look at like bullet points of the game, most of it always says that there's 3.
I don't remember the third then, which says something about it. So,
but
there aren't enough dungeons in that game, so it's happened before that they've shorted us on dungeons. If they've only got like 2 or 3 dungeons in this game, then yeah, they're not showing them because there's not enough to show off yet.
yeah, but I was really disappointed in the gameplay that they showed. I was just kind of left wondering why Nintendo even bothered.
Probably because Jeff asked.
I guess.
I mean, more exposure for Zelda is never bad. I mean, part of why I think
Nintendo did it.
Of why I think you and I aren't particularly like enthused by it is we played it for half an hour already. You know, we experienced this firsthand already. For people that didn't get to go behind the scenes at E3, like this is a big deal. Like this is good stuff to show, and it's at least not the same. I mean, there's a little more
the lightning arrows
drama
are new.
here. You know?
I mean, there's a couple little elements that they show off for the first time, but overall, it's still pretty much the same thing that we've been experiencing.
But at least it's like it's slightly different. It's not like big open sunny field. It's a little darker. It's a little, it gives you a little taste of how the game's flavor is going to change, like thematically as you go through different areas.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really hold my attention tremendously, but it was good to see a little different out of this game.
Frame rate in this demo, I don't know if you noticed or not, but it is like awful in certain points. That to me is really concerning. Mm-hmm. But it also makes me think that, it's probably not coming out in March.
Yeah.
Nintendo does not, other than the N64 era, even then, Nintendo was pretty good about it, but generally it does not...
Rare wasn't, but Nintendo was.
Right, but Nintendo was. It generally does not release games with shoddy frame rates.
Yeah.
And so to see some of this stuff that they released publicly and knew was going to be on an award show to run that poorly, it just makes me think that there's no way it's coming out in a couple months. I just can't see it.
Or that you don't want to play this on the Wii U if you don't have to.
Right, because, by the way, they also did not announce a release date
Of course not.
at the show. They just said coming in 2017 to Switch and Wii U. If the game's coming in March, like at the Game Awards in December, you kind of mention it, right?
I mean, I don't think they're giving any details on anything for anything on the Switch until the 12th.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they're holding all that for themselves. And why not?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't they? I think it's too close to the launch to be considerate of the consumers to me, but like, as long as you've decided that's how you're going to do it, hold all the cards until it's time to lay them on the table. Sure, don't do it at this thing that most people aren't even going to see in comparison to your big reveal.
Yeah. Hype higher, lower, the same for Zelda after Game Awards?
Not the same.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be higher if it was sooner, but like now clearly we got another 6 months.
I think that's why it didn't increase my hype, is because after this release of media, I think it's not coming out for a long time now. So
also, like, I don't, and this happens with almost every Zelda, is like I don't get hyped for Zelda because it's such a known thing for me. I'm like, I know it's going to come out, I know I'm gonna play it. Like, it's, you don't need to convince me anymore. And sometimes I don't like them. They're not all winners to me, but like, I'm never gonna not play a Zelda. Like, that's a no-brainer. And I've seen what I've seen, and like, I'm almost at the point where I'm just like, I don't need to see any more.
Really? You don't want to see a dungeon first?
I don't care. Like, I liked what I played of the open world. I like again, I will criticize it for being kind of like, everyone's excited that, all the concepts that have been in a ton of games I played over the last 8 years are finally coming to a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
But again, there is sort of, I hate to quote their tagline, but there is sort of that Nintendo difference on things when everything really gels on one of their good games.
Yeah.
And this felt really good to play when I played it at E3. And I can totally, I'm just like, this is great, but I sure can't wait to when I get to sit down on my couch and really just sort of immerse myself in it for like 8 hours at a stretch and really figure out how everything works and what everything is. I don't always seem like the most hypest Zelda bunny, but playing it at E3 was like, yeah, this is solid. This is good. I'm in.
When the Ocarina plays, I come a running.
Yep.
I'm sorry, that's Ocarina. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the gameplay debut for Mass Effect Andromeda. Mm-hmm. Probably not fair to say the gameplay debut because we did get that other section, which was
combat
vaguely
debut.
Gameplay. But they really blew it out. Like, they basically showed every gameplay element, and I think it's, 4 or 5 minutes of footage that they showed.
long clip.
Another great get for Jeff, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am sure Sony at PSX would have killed to run this in its show.
Because clearly this is one of their PS4 Pro showcase games.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, the last bit of Andromeda, maybe that's why they decided to go with Jeff, because the last time they did debut something with Sony. And maybe
or because, PSX was a rapid fire, Gatling gun of games, and if you premiere this on the Game Awards, you're going to be much more of a standout. It's basically you and Zelda, standing on top of the heap.
So Matt, as probably the biggest Mass Effect fan that I personally know, how do you feel after watching this?
I mean, it looks good. I was never one of the people that thought Mass Effect's gameplay got worse as the series went on. I think that when they really found the groove in 2 and improved it in 3, and I like how it basically becomes like a shooter at that point, a cover shooter at that point, and I don't mind that. I like cover shooters for the most part.
I think the problem is that there's kind of two audiences for Mass Effect. Mm-hmm. There are the RPG folks who love the RPG side of it, and then there's the more action gamey people who also enjoy it, which is why it's so great, because it appeals to both of those groups. But I think what you see is this tug of war between them with this franchise, and I think the RPG folks, the closer it got to becoming an action game and a cover-based shooter, I think the less and I don't know if they even enjoyed it less. I think they just didn't like the path it had started walking down, and maybe they feared that eventually it would start stripping away the RPG stuff out of it.
And I don't feel like they did that.
I don't either. No, not at all.
So it looks fine. And I was also someone who kind of liked the Mako.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. And, it's cool to see. I mean, you spent too much time driving it. I mean, look, man, I played that game 5 times.
I also thought the controls for the Mako were terrible. So.
Oh, they were, but it was also, it was just one of the weirdest, because the story goes that one of the doctors from BioWare at GDC, because it came out in January, and the GDC March the year before, someone had asked if you were going to be able to go visit and drive around and explore planets, and he said yes, and that wasn't in the game.
He pulled a No Man's Sky,
and he went
before there was No Man's Sky.
He went back to BioWare, and he's like, all right, you better start building some planets.
Yeah.
They're like, so that's why the planets in Mass Effect 1 are these big empty maps with almost nothing works properly.
And they're probably like, can't you just retract what you said? I know it hurts your pride a little bit, but come on, man.
So it looks like they're kind of delivering on that in a bigger way in this game.
Oh, for sure.
And this looks much more like this looks way more fluid and twitch based than any of the others. And you can see, the Vanguard power. I know the classes aren't they aren't discrete classes anymore. You upgrade your character however you want, and they sort of fit the mold you build them into. Yeah. But you can see the old powers in there, and I'm really interested in this thing where the pod lands with the silhouette thing, because clearly you're telling it to land there.
Right.
There's a lot of systems in this game I feel we don't know about.
Oh,
yet.
This trailer is just chock full of mystery.
Yeah.
It's just every 10 seconds.
And I love all the stuff with the gauntlet. I mean, look, man. I love scanning stuff. I don't know why, but the most exciting thing of this trailer for me is the fact that the character's got the little scanner thing up, is scanning all the plants. I'm just hours of my time are gone just off of that. But this all looks cool. I mean, but I've said before, it really comes down to, is the story and the characters gonna do it for me? Everything else looks like it's phenomenal.
It really does. Game looks.
All we got left is the narrative.
Game looks,
beautiful.
It's so great looking.
And and the other games kind of had, especially the first one, but the second and third as well, kind of had that sort of grid feel. Everything felt a little locked to a grid in a way that well, a
lot of it looked cut and paste.
Right.
I mean, and that goes to the story that you were telling about one of the doctors coming back in last minute and saying, hey, we need to do something more with the vehicle. Okay, well, let's just cut and paste this desert in between these two areas. Yeah.
Here's a Promethean beacon.
Right.
Good luck, boys.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, probably what it is that this has been built from the ground up, knowing the elements that were going to be in it, allowing them to make sure that they polish them all up and make them all relevant. And 'cause that's kind of something that happens when you keep piling options onto a game. You have to ensure that they're actually relevant and something that people want to do and will do. And I feel like a lot of times when you get into like the third or the fourth entry in a series, the developers sometimes lose sight of that. They're just like, well, we can't just make it just like the last one because we'll have nothing to talk about. And sometimes a lot of those extras that they add are frivolous and pointless.
Yeah,
so
sometimes you got to take what works and maybe like polish it a bit, but just leave it alone. Give us more of what's good. I'd like Nintendo to learn that lesson.
Yep.
Star Fox Zero.
Yep. More excited or less excited for Andromeda after the Game Awards?
I would say marginally more. I mean, like I said, the narrative is still to live or die on this, but it looks like they're doing literally everything.
I have a lot of trust in them to be able to do
They're doing
that.
everything else right.
Yeah.
So it's a good sign.
Oh yeah, I went from like here to like after this. I mean, we hadn't really seen what the features of the game are until now. I mean, Game Informer did a great job with its exclusive coverage of the game, and I learned a lot about it. But reading about it and seeing it in action are two different things.
And seeing how fluid it seems to be.
Yeah, the gameplay does look a little
stilted, but in comparison to what we had before,
it's like night and day. But it still doesn't look like a typical third-person cover-based shooter.
No, I mean,
which probably would anger, like I said, the RPG folks. So it probably makes sense.
But the fact that you're like jumping off stuff and landing on guys and doing mid-air stuff, it's clearly moved another couple of ticks in kind of the action adventure direction, and I'm okay with that.
Yep, I'm excited for Andromeda. Think we're getting it in March still? I think we are. Like, there was this quote from EA saying, well, we'll delay it if we have to until forever to make sure it's good.
I mean, it looks pretty good.
With all the stuff that they're doing now, I mean, they did the cover with Game Informer, and the media, they did N7 Day. It's like, you don't do that and then release the game a year later. So, I tend to think it is coming.
They're clearly not, like, done, but I think they see the end in sight. They're just sort of hedging their bet on the idea that, like, well, anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like they're probably going to hit their March target.
I hope so. I'm not drafting them, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
I'll let you jump on that grenade. After I jumped on 5 this last year.
Well, actually, I'm pretty sure it's coming out next year.
I don't know.
I'll draft it.
We'll
do that.
We'll see how that goes. All right, next we're going to talk about Prey, another one of the big debuts at the Game Awards. We had seen trailers and things like that, but they actually released like a big 8 or 9 minute chunk of gameplay on Talos 1. You really kind of figure out the whole game loop, the gameplay loop, by watching this walkthrough. But I still think after watching, a lot of people are saying it looks like a System Shock game or a BioShock game.
It keeps reminding me of something that I'm sure the developers do not want me to be reminded of. So
what?
Geist.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about Geist, the Nintendo game where you possessed a bowl of dog food.
Yeah, but this is a lot more action-y, though.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just that's the thing I think of when when he's jumping into the coffee cup and stuff. I mean, it's I'm not saying it hasn't, but yeah, it looks very BioShocky, System Shocky.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah,
I'm totally cool with that. I mean,
are these Arcane?
Who knows if we're ever getting another BioShock? So
right. Well, Arcane. There are people there that worked on those games.
Yep.
So it's like the pedigree's there.
It is. I mean, also you have sort of the other old members of System Shock working on System Shock 3.
Yeah.
So we will be getting sort of another game in that vein in the not too distant future.
Yeah, if you like that kind of like shooter RPG, choose your own approach thing. Between we had Deus Ex this year and Dishonored 2, and then this is coming, and I mean and System Shock 3 is in development. There's a System Shock 1 remake thing happening. Like it's a good time.
Except there's no BioShock in development.
Yeah,
that's been announced
that we know of. Yeah.
But obviously, it won't be developed by the same team.
What are you doing, Ken Levine?
Working on mobile and indie games.
Working on stuff.
I don't think he's working on BioShock.
He's working on regular BioShock Mobile. What the hell would that be?
Woohoo! What would it be?
I don't know. I don't even know what.
It'd be like a tower defense game with Big Daddies and.
You have to go to lighthouses in the real world and take pictures with your daughter.
Yeah,
that's BioShock Mobile.
I still think Prey is tracking to be a game where Bethesda is going to regret its new review policy. Because first of all, they may regret it already with Dishonored 2, because Dishonored 2 not setting the sales charts ablaze. And now we have another kind of game very similar to Dishonored.
My copy of Dishonored 2 finally works properly. By the way. They finally updated it to the point that it runs well.
I mean, it's not like the first Prey was a hit.
Well, also like
it's not a household name.
No, also from like gamer people I know, the people who have been playing stuff regularly for years. Like the question I've gotten about this game so far is like, why is it called Prey? Is it a remake of that game with the portals from like years ago or what? And it doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't make any sense. It's like
you got the name, so you want to use it, I guess?
It's like Bethesda was like, we have this IP that people kind of remember, and that's better than starting a new IP?
Than nothing, I guess?
I mean, Bethesda typically does not start a lot of new IPs.
No, but I just don't see what this has to do with anything.
I don't either.
I mean, call Prey, fine, whatever, but
even the original revision of Prey 2 didn't seem to have a whole lot to do with the first Prey either. So I think it did have portals in it, though.
Yeah, well, man, you wonder how the people that made the original Prey feel about Portal.
Right.
We just made made it a gun and not like little boxes. It would have.
Yeah. That game had some charm, but
there was some. I mean, for the time, that game had some cool stuff in it.
It did. Yeah, it just didn't quite come together all that well.
Dizzying.
Are you excited for this game at all, Prey? Because it's tracking really low on Sifted as far as the clicks on content for it.
I am, but I like System Shock, so and I like System Shock. I like Deus Ex. I like Bioshock. I'll play any of that kind of game.
Yeah.
I don't always like them, but I'll try it.
As someone who's been struggling to get through Dishonored 2.
Dishonored 2 is probably my least favorite of that sort of subgenre.
Yeah.
It just doesn't click with me for some reason.
I'm just not having fun playing it. I don't know what it... Maybe, it's a quality game. It's pretty polished.
Well, it's the Dishonored thing has always been a thing. For me, it's always been I always felt like the problem was me, not the game.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. But struggling trying to get through that game, and now looking at this one, it looks like a very similar experience. But I do love Bioshock, so we'll see. But I'm kind of with the sifters on this one. This hasn't really hooked me yet.
It feels like a total experience kind of game. It feels like something that you'll immerse yourself in when you get your hands on it. But it doesn't seem like it's a big slam bang demo game.
Yeah. All right, let's move along. We're going to talk next about Kojima's game, Death Stranding. This game is probably 2 years away, 3 years away.
If we're playing this by 2020, I'll be impressed.
Right. I mean, I'm being optimistic in saying 2 or 3 years away. And here, another trailer for this game.
Which, at the beginning, I thought was the same trailer.
Right, yeah. Because it kind of starts the same way.
Yeah.
With that pain on the ground.
Giant enemy crabs.
Yeah.
So much massive damage could be done.
This was Kojima trailer 101, though.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard or not, but there's two slightly different versions of the trailer. And if you play them side by side, I haven't got to do it yet, because I literally found out about it right before I left to come here and record the show. But apparently, if you put the two versions of the trailer side by side, it does something crazy, something to do with a bat. I don't know. I'm sure someone in the chat probably is already aware.
I saw that the little baby doll is Punish Snake.
Yeah,
you got the shrapnel in the head and the one eye and the plastic arm and the sutures and stuff. It's that's basically a reference to that. And it's just you gotta wonder. It's don't you have a game to make?
Yeah,
instead of coming up with all this shit.
I know, and yeah, I mean, you think about the time that they spent. I'm assuming this was not farmed out to some CG.
No, they're claiming this is running on a PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
But this is real-time in-engine footage.
Right.
Which I'll believe when I see. But
I mean, I don't think it's anything the PS4 Pro couldn't do.
I haven't been doing it so far.
I mean, it's a good-looking game.
I mean, in 2020, it'll probably be able to do it.
Oh, man. What do you think about this trailer? Got Del Toro in it.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's got Hannibal in it.
The fuck is this game? I don't care. Who cares? Again, an enigmatic cinematic trailer with yes, I know Hideo Kojima gets a giant hard-on when he works with like Hollywood talent. Like I get it.
I wonder how many people even knew that was Del Toro.
That's a good point. I knew it was him because I know what he looks like.
Yeah.
I knew it was Mads Mikkelsen.
Right. He's pretty obvious.
In the thing. Apparently, Mads Mikkelsen is required to have weird, oily, crusty, dark circles around his eyes in every role now after Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Because he looks almost the same as his Doctor Strange.
Well, he was like
character.
that in Hannibal, too.
Yeah.
He's a really weird guy.
He's great, though. I mean, he's a great pick.
I feel like he plays one character, though.
Yeah, pretty much, but I'm down with that character.
I like that character.
I
love Hannibal. Love Hannibal.
And I
It's
still
one of the best
say,
shows on
even though
television.
he already played a forgettable villain in Doctor Strange, if Marvel ever gets the film license back for Fantastic Four, he has to play Doctor Doom. I don't want a Fantastic Four movie, but I think Doctor Doom should be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he should be played by Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh, here's
Flawless.
from Kevin Rafa. If you play the two trailers at the same time, the child will disappear from Norman Reedus and appear in the small thing that Del Toro holds.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's Kojima. That's like I said, this is a Kojima 101 trailer. Yeah. It's just got everything that he likes to put in him.
But the main thing, of course, is that we don't know what the game is, what you're going to be doing, what the gameplay is like, what anything.
Well, there is a panel, maybe it's going on like right now, actually, at PSX, where I'm assuming he's going to explain some more of it. I mean, this ending here kind of demonstrates some of the stuff he was talking about with, like, the cords or whatever. Because it appears that, like, the bad guy is controlling these
corpse
soldiers with those cords that are connected to him. Yeah, I mean, is he going to put one of these out every 4 months until the game is done? Like,
I don't know. I also don't know, like there's a real thing going on with black goo these days.
Yeah.
Like, it's everywhere. Like, black goo is just the bad guy in a ton of shit right now. X-Files did it first.
I mean, great trailer, though.
Pretty.
I mean, if that really is the game engine, it's a beautiful game. The trailer itself is interesting, if nothing else.
I mean, I'm
and
hoping
memorable.
Mads Mikkelsen, I'll watch him. I'd watch him, smoke a pipe and read the phone book.
Yeah.
And but I'm just hoping this isn't another like Kiefer Sutherland situation where it's like Kiefer Sutherland is going to be Snake. It's like he's got like 7 lines in the whole freaking game.
Yeah.
I hope like he's a real presence in the story and is actually, also like, I mean, I don't think he would do this, Kojima would do this, but like watching all the cinematic stuff and all the high level visuals and stuff, I keep thinking about Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
I think it looks like if it wasn't so obviously Kojima and like certain elements of it and like the military fetishism and stuff like that, it would be part of me to be like, is this the new David Cage game? Right. I hope it's not, but we do know that,
He said it's going to be an action game, so...
All right, well, when it comes out and it's police knots, I told you so.
Yeah, I mean, Kojima's interpretation of genres doesn't always line up with everyone else's.
You never know. I mean, Metal Gear Solid 1 is a minigame collection.
Yeah.
Connected by story scenes.
It really is, yeah.
I got huge heat for saying that on Usenet back when the game came out.
Usenet.
I said it's like a minigame collection.
On your GeoCities website?
And people just like lost their shit at me. And then when Keeley was doing the run up to I think Metal Gear Solid 4, and he was interviewing everybody about the history of it and stuff. The lead game designer on Metal Gear Solid 1 was like, yeah, he brought us the story and said, just come up with stuff to fill in the gaps where we need gameplay, and we just came up with a bunch of mini games, and that was Metal Gear Solid 1. I'm like, thank you! 15 years later.
It really was, though. It's like disparate, like, segments or experiences that they put together, and then it's all linked together with the plot. Which is fine, though.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons it was good, was because every time you picked up the controller, you had to do a different thing.
You never knew what was going to come next. And it was exciting to find out what was going to come next.
Right.
Like, I don't understand why people would take offense to that.
I don't know.
People like to protect Kojima.
Yeah, Kojima fans, man. Like, any slight... just the threads on this trailer I've seen where people are like, someone says a negative minor thing about Metal Gear Solid 5 story, and people not only freak out, but it goes on for pages.
Over its story?
Oh, yeah. Over, like, the story. And then, like, when they lose...
I thought a lot of Kojima fans hated the story and said it's not finished.
A lot of them do, but a lot of them don't.
Oh, wow.
And then a lot of the people that do think that the story doesn't work, will, to their dying day, say that it wasn't Kojima's fault because he was locked in a room.
Right. Well,
And
they
it's
have
like-
the scapegoat now.
Right, but it's like he was locked in a room for the last 6 months. He was working on it for
you
5
can't,
years.
Well, also,
I mean, it's like,
you can work while you're in a room.
Right.
Like, it's not like he stopped working on the game. Really
just
bizarre.
sitting there staring at the wall.
But it's like I said, Kojima fans protect him or try to protect him,
Right.
and they have problems finding any faults in him or any of his games. So.
Yeah. Well, also this is a dark time for Kojima fandom, I think, because of what happened to him. And once he gets this new game out in 2023 or so, then everybody will feel better.
Yep. I'm sure we'll see it again at the VGAs next year.
Oh yeah.
or TGAs.
The TGA. That's the thing. I don't know what to call the Game Awards because like everyone you abbreviate it to TGA, but that's the T stands for the.
Right.
So it can't be the TGAs because that's the Game Awards.
Yeah. So it's GAs.
What if we just we pronounce the acronym TIGA?
Tiga.
They're the Tiggers. They're the Tiggers.
All right. Speaking of which, the last topic of the Tigas. This is one of the more memorable moments for me from the Game Awards. And so Nolan North goes up to win basically best voiceover performance or whatever. And obviously we've talked about in the show over the last couple weeks about how there's a voice actor strike going on. And you would expect Nolan to go up there and maybe try to explain what's been going on and maybe try to massage the situation. But instead, he kind of took the other tact and was like, the programmers and the designers and all these people like bust their butts on these games, and we just kind of float in, do our thing, and then we float off. Mm-hmm. And I was really, really impressed with him saying that. I mean, I wouldn't say he called out like all the other voice actors. He did it.
I don't think he did at all. Remotely.
He did it in a very tactful way. It was just, I just feel like it was just his way of saying like, look, let's keep all this in perspective. There's other people who work on games besides us who dedicate like their whole life to the game.
Well, I saw it as I thought, and I said this in the comments on the Sifted curated story of it was I took it as him trying to build a bridge between the VAs and the devs, saying that like we recognize that we don't do this on our own. Our union is fighting for us, but we're not sitting here saying that you don't matter. Like he's kind of an elder statesman for video game voice acting, I would say.
Which is crazy because when he first started, he was a young buck. It just makes me feel old.
And he's, I feel like he was trying to extend a hand more than draw a line.
Yeah.
And a lot of people took it the other way, but I feel like he was trying to be inclusive. I don't think he was speaking to publishers. I think he was speaking to the developers and saying, like, we get it. We're not trying to say that video voice actors deserve better than
I thought he was speaking to some of his fellow union members and saying, look, like, let's not get too greedy here. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure he doesn't want to have to go and scream into a microphone for 8 hours a day. I'm sure there's lots of parts of what they're fighting for that he's behind, but the gist I got from it was, like, look, everyone, all you other voice actors, I'm up here, I'm lucky enough to get this award. This is my chance to kind of talk about this. Like, let's find a middle ground here. Like, because, some of these voice acting, like, the people who are on strike, like, I don't know if you've looked at any footage of some of these picket lines. Like, they're pissed. Like, I've been shocked by how, like, angry the picket lines for this are.
And because part of it is because it seems like a pretty obvious thing they want, and again, he's in a better position to know than a lot. Maybe Troy Baker as well, but he's in a good position to know because he does so much mocap work and creative work with the Uncharted franchise and stuff. So he's worked with these developers, closer than a lot of voice actors have. So he knows, I think, both sides of the fence to that degree. And I think he's just trying to make everybody realize that everybody's technically on the same side here. They're all trying to make great games. They're all trying to, make the best product they can and make the best art they can. And and I kind of thought maybe he could have segued into hey, maybe a union would be a good idea for you guys.
I don't think that was a time
not really
his.
It's not really his place to say that.
Yeah.
But it's just like it is kind of the whole thing. It's like, sorry, our union is doing its job for us, and you don't have that.
Yeah.
Adam Sessler used to sing a song about that.
Yeah.
It's called "You Don't Have a Union Who Has Your Back."
Yeah.
And it's something.
It's a good question.
It's a good question. It's a really good question. And so right now, for game developers, it feels like nobody has their back.
Yeah. And somebody should, because, everyone is like, oh, you make games for a living. It's just like when people say, oh, you're a video game journalist. You get paid to play video games. You're like, dude, I dedicate like 70 hours a week to my job. Mm-hmm. Anytime you're doing that much of anything, it's a job. And it's the same way for video game developers.
Yeah,
you know?
this is not tightening up the graphics on level 3.
Yeah,
here.
not everyone who makes games gets to do all the fun part of making games.
No.
Some of them are just trying to squash bugs or just find different ways to, like, put less strain on the processor or whatever while they do certain things.
You're looking at a lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's real
It's
work.
a real job.
Yeah.
It's not just fun and games.
Real work. It's building like a building or a car almost. You know, it's like it's engineering in a lot of ways. It's not like just people seem to think it's like, oh, what do you think you do? Like, I guess people have used like level designers and some things like they're just like painting floors as they walk in the game ahead of them or something. It's like, no, these guys are doing serious stuff.
Yep. So I respected Nolan North before the Video Game Awards, and I respect him even more now. I thought he did a perfect job of kind of straddling the line between his union and the industry at large, and I thought he did a great job. So kudos to you, Mr. North. It's time to move on. We're going to talk about a smaller story. This week, we had heard months ago that Nintendo and Universal were working on theme park attractions based upon Nintendo properties. And I don't think we even talked about it on GameFace, actually.
There wasn't really much to talk about.
Yeah. So this week, finally, they kind of consummated the partnership. They put out this... Yeah, exactly. They put out this joint video between the two of them, kind of going over what they're going to do. It looks like this deal is huge. It is going to be a part of theme parks in 3 different territories. This isn't just going to be like a reskinned, like, Back to the Future 3D thing.
Which is usually what Universal does.
It's
like they take a thing that's been around for 20 years and just like change the wallpaper.
They do that, or they end up just doing one of those VR rides where you get in like this capsule and it shakes you around and you get sick and you come out and you vomit.
But even look at the background of the video.
Oh, I know.
It's like,
that's what I'm saying. Just the amount of work that, I mean, assuming these are the props from
at
one
the
of
very
their
at the very least, yeah,
installations.
they're dry runs.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is going to be freaking awesome. Is what I'm getting at. Like, it looks like Universal is going all in. I can't think of an amusement park I would rather visit than Nintendo Land. The games, I feel like, are ripe for a myriad of rides.
Well, also, I think you saw maybe a little bit of a taste of that with their E3 booth this year.
Yeah.
You know, the Zelda booth was very heavily themed.
It was,
and it was beautiful.
It was,
and you got to wonder if, like, maybe this partnership was involved in that, maybe to some degree, if they used some of that. Because there was some really impressive prop and decorative work in that booth.
For sure. I'm just wondering what kind of rides could they make around Nintendo properties. So, I guess you could...
Kirby's Air Ride.
Yeah, Kirby's Air Ride.
I mean, F-Zero. I know they won't.
No, like, it's not big enough, but it would be flipping
But
awesome.
I would ride that F-Zero ride.
How do you make a ride for Mario? It could be like one of those, like, the Haunted Tower where you drop and then, like, you slowly come down. It's kind of like you're jumping or whatever. Like, the whole facade could be like a Mario level.
I think it would probably be, like, probably more of a coaster kind of thing with a heavy theming. Like, because that's, like, for your main attraction, you probably want, like, a standard, not a standard coaster, but, like, a coaster-style ride, because that's what amusement park people like the most. So I would think that's what that would be. I could see them doing, like, a Star Fox-themed, like, Star Tours kind of thing.
Yeah.
Zelda.
I hope they don't do stuff like that.
My main question is Zelda. Like, what do you do with Zelda?
What do you do?
I don't know.
Is that one of those, like, animatronic, like, ride, float in the water ride? You just have, like, the robots doing the same thing over and over again?
It should just be a small world, except it's the theme from the Lost Woods.
Yeah.
Like, just sung over and over and over again.
Zelda is a tough one, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
how do you capture? Because I can think of like Metroid rides and almost anything else, but like Zelda, like how do you capture Zelda in a ride?
Epona, no. I mean, Zelda has had so many power-ups through the years. I mean, you could get really cheap and just kind of grab some random power-up from any Zelda game and focus the whole ride around that, I guess. Like anything that he's used to float in the past. Like any type of like hang gliding thing, I guess, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you could use like kind of a like what the Back to the Future or the Transformers ride uses with like an open top thing with video everywhere, or you could do like more of a Star Tours sort of thing. because they are powerful and fast enough now that you could do stuff where, like, if you're with Link and he hits something with a hook shot, the ride shoots forward.
Yeah.
You could do something like that. I really don't know. Like, that's why I'm not an Imagineer.
Yeah. I totally forgot. When does this launch?
I don't know.
I think it's a ways away still.
I want to say it's at least 2018.
2018, I think, is the date I seem to have stuck in my head for some reason.
Yeah, at least 20. This stuff tends to take at least 2 years, and it looks like they're well into production on at least some of the stuff. So the gift shop is going to be amazing.
So before we move on, apparently the Kojima panel for Death Stranding is going on right now, and they just announced in the panel that it is using the same engine as Horizon Zero Dawn. So there you go.
It looks a lot better than Horizon Zero Dawn.
You think it does?
That trailer? Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're seeing like 5 character models instead of a whole sprawling open world. So he's going to have to dial it in a little bit ultimately. Like, I doubt that Death Stranding is going to look that good on the whole whenever the game is actually finished. I know.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's move on. It's time, people. After all the wait, Matt and I have been playing The Last Guardian. Can you believe it?
I had a hard time believing it when it was in my hand.
I know.
After years of saying I'd believe it when it was in my hand.
I know. I was looking at it in my hand. I'm like,
when I opened it, I almost expected the disc to not be there.
Yeah, or to or for me to pick it up and for it to just turn into dust. But it didn't.
It was real.
I opened it up and I put it in my PlayStation 4 and it works and it plays after a gigabyte update.
Yeah, a very fast gigabyte update.
Like, I don't know what's up with PSN. I think they may have just jacked up the servers or something.
I don't know what happened. Or maybe because we were the only 2 people downloading the update. I don't know.
I was getting 4 or 5 megabytes a second on the download.
I get that, like, in general at home. I mean, I can download a gigabyte in about 8 minutes.
Really?
But,
I never get those speeds on PSN.
It went up. And I can download the entire Witcher 3 on PS4 in about 19, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is like 50 gigs. And but the this thing, I saw it was like a gig or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden it's like, ping, installed. I'm like, what? Instant almost on my connection. It was crazy. So maybe they've upped it, or maybe it's just they have a big server ready for the rush at launch, and we just happen to be, when the pipeline's empty.
Yeah, I don't know what, but it was the fastest I've ever downloaded
Speaking
anything.
of which, didn't Steep come out, Pipeline?
Steep came out yesterday, yeah. Not a single
By the way,
review out there.
I saw Steep for sale on the shelf at Target on Tuesday, earlier this week, and it wasn't until 2 days later I realized it wasn't supposed to be out till Friday, and still no one was talking about the fact that you could get it. Digression. But
That's insane. Target broke street date by 3 days.
The Xbox One version was just sitting there on the front end cap, and I was like, Steep's out? Like, what the hell is that?
It came out on Friday.
But this was Tuesday. This was 3 days early, 4 days early.
That's crazy.
And no one noticed.
No, because no one cares.
Good luck, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
We love you.
We might talk about Steep next week on the show. We only have a couple more episodes before the year's up. We have a lot to get in the next couple weeks. So one other thing that people mentioned in the chat is that Kojima says that they've already made some tweaks to the engine to make it work better, of course. So, no surprise there.
Nothing's ever good enough for Kojima.
Yeah.
Except stories.
All right, so let's talk about The Last Guardian. We are playing this video game. How far are you into it?
Between 2 and 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm a little less than 2 hours. I didn't get it until late last night, and then I went out and had dinner with the wife, then I came back, and I basically stayed up as late as I possibly could playing this so that I would get 5 hours of sleep so I could get up to start preparing for the show and prepare for the show while PSX is going on. It has been an insane day for me already. I really wish I could have just stayed up all night and played this, but unfortunately, I only got in about 2 hours of it.
Well, I didn't play as much as I normally would have, just because I haven't been in the right frame of mind for this game. This game is. I'm fascinated that they are advertising.
And by the way, we are playing the final retail copy of this.
Yeah, final retail copy from a location undisclosed.
Yeah.
But they have been updating. It updated to 1.02 this morning.
Yeah.
So
2 updates already.
Yeah. And I'm playing on the Pro, on the PS4 Pro. It's running very well. I've seen some frame rate complaints online.
I haven't had any problems with frame rate so far.
Are you playing on a regular PS4?
Yeah, stock PS4.
I mean, it's.
I haven't made it that far, so maybe that's part of it.
I haven't. It's probably dipped below 30 a couple times, but I haven't noticed it hasn't impacted gameplay. It looks great. The point is the animation, not the frame rate. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by the fact that they're really advertising this. There's TV ads, there's billboards everywhere. I feel very sorry for the COD bro who picks this game up, because this game is not here to help you. Like, you get hints in the corner about like what buttons do and like the basic controls, but like you walk into an area and it's just like, figure it out. Like, go figure out where you need to go, figure out what you have to do. Like, it's very much like Eco in that regard, where it's like, it is not here to hold your hand through its puzzles. The puzzles are there for you to find and figure out yourself. And I wonder, I like it. I like it that way. It reminds me of the old school stuff I used to play, like Eco. I think I've said when I first put in the Eco collection and started up Eco, and I rocked my way out of a little cell thing, I sat there and I waited for it to tell me what to do, because every game does that now. It's like, push this to do, and it doesn't do it.
Well,
it
does eventually, kind of.
Eco doesn't.
So let's set up the whole game. So basically the game just starts off, we're kind of seeing the early part of the game right here, but we don't really get to see the whole cinema and how it sets up. Basically, the boy wakes up in a room, and he's in the room with Trico. He's heard of creatures like Trico before. He's completely petrified of
it's
Trico.
The way the load screen actually sets up what Trico is and why he makes sense in the world.
Kinda.
And it's fascinating. Like, the way they do it really works.
Well, they basically show like an encyclopedia of other creatures.
But it's like medieval era drawings of creatures where you see like those drawings of like lizards, and you're like, why do the lizards have lips? Did you even look at the creature when you drew it? Like those medieval drawings that like kind of look like monsters, but clearly they're supposed to be like dogs, but they've got like weird flame things on them. And they show like unicorns, and like then they get into mythical creatures, and then they show Trico.
Yeah,
and it really it's all you need to say.
Yeah, and so the boy has these markings all over him, which he did not have before he went to sleep. He doesn't know how he got there. He doesn't know what's happened to get him there. He thinks he's still near his village or home, because at a certain point he gets away from Trico and says goodbye, which Trico ain't having. It's like, no, you're not getting away from me. And then the boy discovers that he's really not where he thought he was. And then thus begins the journey.
Yeah, of a boy and his cat, dog,
Trico. Yeah,
thing.
So the first thing I would say about this game is Trico is amazing. The amount of time and effort that has gone into animating this creature to make him feel, or her, I don't know if it's a male or a female, make it feel like a real thing is like mind-blowing. Everything about it, just the way, you know how an animal, like, it'll get the chills, and like you'll see like this wave go down its back, like it does that all the time with those feathers. Its ears like react, like it talks with its ears in a lot of ways, like it expresses itself with its ears. And Matt, you were saying before we went live on the show that Trico is like this combination of every pet.
Yeah,
like
if you're a dog person, you'll see it as a dog. If you're
see
a
some
cat
elements
person,
of a dog in
you'll
there.
see it as a cat.
Yeah.
If you're a bunny person, you'll see it as a rabbit. Like if you love an animal, you will see that animal in Trico. And that's the genius of that character to me.
I see people complaining about spoilers. I'm not spoiling anything. These are not spoilers.
This is the first 30 seconds.
This is the first room of The Last Guardian.
Everything you just said is the first 30 seconds of the game.
Exactly. Like, we are not going to spoil anything for you. The footage that we're running right now is not footage that we captured. This is footage that Sony has put out there officially.
This is all official.
This is all official media. This is not anything we captured from the game, so don't freak out that we're going to show you something that Sony doesn't want you to see or you don't want to see. This is all stuff that's out there already. So let's talk about the game, Matt. I think the first thing I would say is the game is a puzzle platformer.
Yeah.
It is. That's what the game is. It is figuring out how to get... Yeah, it could change.
There's one thing I've learned partly from watching the footage that they showed at PSX today, and partly from digging through the trophy list once I got the game in the system. This game's bigger than I thought. I mean, I've been worried. I've said many times I was worried that it was going to be like 4 or 5 hours long. And there is a speed run trophy for completing in under 5 hours, but the other trophies for completing it are under 15 hours and under 30 hours. This is a bigger game than I ever thought it was going to be.
It appears it's bigger than any other Team Eco game before it.
Seems like it.
Eco was like 4 hours.
I mean, if you don't want to count, transit time in Shadow of the Colossus,
right?
Which is basically 16 boss fights.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a lot in this game, and like, I'm pleased.
We had all been guessing it was going to be like 5 to 8 hours.
Well, I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a get it out the fucking door thing.
And I guess technically you can complete it in 5 hours because there's an achievement for speedrunning in 5 hours. There's a trophy for it,
but it's also a gold trophy, and
right.
It's like, there's three timed completion trophies, and that's the top one. And it makes me think, they've done a couple of those, and Sony's done a few of those in other games, and usually that top one is not easy.
No, well, yeah, as Adam has found, the Platinum Trophy is not easy to achieve, that's for sure. But I'm kind of surprised that what I've played so far, it is just a puzzle platformer. So you use the barrels of food. What are the point of those? Will he not help you unless you keep him fed?
No, well, there's a trophy for feeding him every barrel in the game. But I think, I have no proof of this, I'm just surmising from what I did, is that you've seen that he can shoot lightning out of his tail.
Right.
I think
that was something I did not know about until I started playing it.
I think the barrels charge that up.
Okay.
I think you need to feed him those to give him the power to do that.
That makes sense. So yeah,
because a lot of the puzzles involve getting to a barrel and then feeding him a barrel, and then you can break a thing. And I think because you have to get up to where the barrel is before that happens,
right?
And it feels like that must be connected.
He leaves barrels behind though sometimes.
Sometimes, but usually if you direct him to them, he will eat them all.
I've seen him stand on top of one and just walk away and leave it there.
Well, here's the thing: that he's kind of dumb.
Yeah,
he's not.
We'll get to that. So
he's not very proactive.
Yeah, so that's a big part of the game and you do actually use the barrels sometimes to motivate him to go particular places. Like there's one part where he won't jump in the water. So you have to throw the barrels in the water, and finally that convinces him to get the bravery to jump down into the water. So there is some stuff where you actually motivate him using the food, but otherwise I think you may be right. So this was something that was shocking to me that I did not know. I had never seen it in any trailers or anyone talk about it. Trico shoots electricity out of his tail. And you get this sort of a disc object that focuses light, and then you focus the light on whatever you want Trico to essentially shoot with electricity. And so a lot of the puzzles in the game are like, basically what you do is you go into a room and you look for whatever.
And that happens in like the third room.
Yeah.
It's very fast, and like it's fascinating.
Look for wood. Because basically his tail can destroy wood. So there's wooden doors, there's barricades.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say that the game isn't here to help you. Like, nothing tells you that's how that works. You have to figure it out yourself. And
because I first got that
you would if
object, and I've shown it around the room for like 20 minutes.
Oh, right, yeah, because I thought I got to find that symbol.
Right,
and put it in,
that's what I did too, and that's not what it was. Yeah, but it doesn't tell you that. Now let's talk about Trico. And you said it earlier, Trico's dumb. And so this is a puzzle platformer, and probably the most important platform in the game is Trico.
It's him, yeah.
Because you climb up on Trico to get you up to heights that you can't reach on your own. And then you jump off of him onto a ledge or whatever. The problem that I've had is that Trico, he just does his own thing. Like, I've not figured out any way to make him go the direction you need him to go.
You get that later.
Okay. Because I have not got to that point yet.
Because believe me, I was concerned.
But look, I am in places where, you need him to, turn his head a certain way before you can actually reach the ledge that you need to get to. And sometimes he just flat out won't even come close enough to the ledge for it to even be viable.
Yeah, I think that's intentional. I think because once you get it, you can have a little better control. I think they're trying to sort of have this
create
this relationship and have this bond start to form. And early on, they don't really know, aren't really in sync. And once you get the ability to tell them what to do, it changes and it works. Because I was worried for a while. I'm like, am I going to have to be dependent on the brain dead AI of this thing because that's one of the things is the game doesn't really tell you what he can do. Even when you get the controls, the ability to control him and command him, it doesn't tell you what he can do. You have to figure that out on your own. And so, like, early on, like, I was worried because there was some frustration early on where I was
It does tell you what to do, though. So
it tells you what you can do, but
the game is narrated by the adult version of the boy.
Right.
It's him telling the tale as how he lived it, so to speak.
And every once in a while, he'll
give
tell
you a hint.
Oh, I had to do this thing, so this would happen.
He would do this, yeah.
And sometimes I'd figure that out before he said anything, and sometimes I wouldn't. It was handy. But every once in a while, there's stuff where he doesn't say anything, and you're kind of in this room, and you're like, well, maybe I could get up there, but I don't know if I can get up there unless he helps me get up there. But I have no way to tell him to help me to get up there. And every once in a while, I just climb on his back and just see if he went anywhere.
Because that's what he'll do sometimes. Like if I don't know what to do, a lot of times I'll just watch him.
Yeah.
And he'll wander over.
He'll look at things.
He'll look at things, or he'll wander over to whatever object it is that you need to be kind of messing with. Mm-hmm. So he does help in that way, as kind of to clue you in on what you should be doing, or at least where you should be looking for what you should be doing.
So it worked. And now that I have like command abilities, like it's much more. I probably stopped playing like 20 minutes after I got that. Like 2 sections after that. And it's much clearer. I think I'm almost to the part where from the E3 demo from this year.
Okay.
I think what I was able to see that area from where I am now, or it might just be another set of bridges or whatever. But I think that's where I'm headed right now. And after you get the ability to give commands, like it makes I think the game
a lot
kind
easier.
It opens it up and like you kind of experiment with it and figure out he can do this, you can do this, you can do that, and now it really has given you, and you have to figure it out yourself, but it has given you a much more concrete toolkit with which to tackle the environments, and that's really what the game's about so far.
Yeah. Matt, do you think, presuming the game stays as it is, that it can sustain a game that's very long? Because, if you played Eco, the gameplay is pretty similar.
Yeah. Eco's about as long as it should be.
Exactly. And so I'm wondering,
like,
if we don't see any kind of a change in this,
look, can
it sustain for 15 hours?
I dug through the trophies, and from what I can glean from the trophies, this game does not stay the same.
Okay.
There's more stuff you can do in this game
than
what you're seeing at the beginning. And I'm not going to say what that is, or I'm not even going to say what I think it is.
Right.
But you did see some of it in the trailer that they ran today at PSX. The PSX trailer today, if you want to stay unspoiled on this game,
don't watch it.
Don't watch it. Because there's some stuff, because I've seen some stuff in the game already where I know certain things are going to be a thing, and they show them in that trailer. And it was more fun for me to discover them piecemeal as I went through the beginning part of the game than it would have been to have seen them in that trailer for the first time. So I would say, if you haven't already, don't watch the PSX trailer. If you have watched the PSX trailer and you don't know what I'm talking about, don't watch it again. But I think there's more to this game than we think.
I hope so.
And judging by the trophies, or the trophies are really annoying. I don't know, one way or the other. But some of the stuff the trophies are asking you to do, A, not remotely close to anything I've done so far, and B, they want you to do a lot of them.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, this game must be bigger than I think if you want me to do this thing 30 times.
Right.
So, or you want me to play the game 40 times, 4 times through. But I don't think that's what it is. I think the world of this game is bigger than we think.
It's gonna crack open in some way.
I hope.
Well,
I might just be being, needlessly optimistic about it, but the trophies and what I've played so far make me think that there's more to unfold in this little onion of the game.
Here's one thing I will say, is if they continue to develop the relationship between the boy and Trico the way it has so far, this gameplay could sustain the game for a while.
Yeah.
Because the game, it really is all about that.
Yeah.
The emotional attachment that you get, and you get it like right away, man. Like literally.
I don't even like leaving him to go do other stuff because he whines. He whines when you leave.
They have done just an amazing job. Like, we'll be doing our Game of the Year awards here in the next couple weeks, and I may just have to invent a category to recognize what they've done. Though, I mean, it's
best giant animal relationship.
But it's like, I talked on the show a couple weeks ago about how I'm pissed off that like the new consoles are not dedicating processing power to working on AI and making games feel like the other organic creatures that you're interacting with are believable. Mm-hmm. And this game does that. I mean, I'm wondering if one of the reasons they kept being delayed on PlayStation 3 was that they were having problems getting that to work on that old hardware. I have no idea. That's just a wild guess. But whatever the reason, like, that to me is what really sets this game apart, more than anything else from all other games, is how realistically they have made this creature. It is just, it's uncanny. And I love how at the beginning it's like the whole tough love thing, and you have to get Trico to like you and get him to work with you. And like, I like how when you help him, you can see it without any words in his disposition. Like, it is just, it's really a marvel as far as I'm concerned what they've done with this animal. I've never seen anything like it in a video game. And are you enjoying your time so far with it?
Yeah, the last 48 hours have been rather hectic in a lot of ways, and I am not quite in the right mindset to play something that requires so much of my concentration.
Yeah.
I think. I'm also like I am.
It's a little boring.
A little. Well, also I'm in the middle of kind of a situation, health situation with my cat. And the last thing I need is to bond with a fictional animal that is like a cat but a bird, and is probably going to get killed at the end of the fucking game.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Matt.
So I put the game in, I started it, I was about to hit press start, and the phone rang with the vet with blood test results and shit. So that's where I am with this right now.
Looks like I'll be trudging forward on this one for next week's show.
So I'm still going to keep going, but it's just if all this matches up right, I might never be able to play this game again.
Or you could ultimately say it's the most emotionally affecting game you've ever played.
Or but in a coincidental lineup with things that were happening in real life,
right?
Which is, valid for me, but that doesn't make it any better for somebody else.
Right.
But yeah, so far I like it. My main issue is camera's terrible in a lot of places. Camera, you're fighting the camera a lot. I will say this before
everyone's offering you words of condolences and prayers for your cat.
I think she's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But there's just some things we got to figure out.
Oh yeah, we have not said anything negative about this game. People always harp on us for always talking about the bad parts of games. We haven't said anything bad about this game until now.
Yeah.
Now we're going to share some issues.
Just be right. The camera. I'm fighting the camera a lot more than I'd prefer.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I fought it so much early on was I did not know that holding L1 focuses the camera on Trico. Because part of what I was doing was I felt like the game wasn't showing me Trico.
Yeah.
And he was doing stuff, and I could hear sound. I'm like, I want to see him do what he's doing.
No, I feel like that too.
And and it turns out if the
and the camera's really slow.
Yeah, camera's very
slow as hell. So I'm like, what is he doing? What's he doing? And the camera just does this slow ass pan, and I'm like, no, I missed it.
And if a tooltip popped up about it, I missed it. But hold L1 and it focuses the camera on him, and it's great. It's fine. It's great. I think that's what you're seeing in this video earlier, where he's jumping over the gap. Yeah. I think that whoever's playing is holding L1 to focus it on him as he does that. Because if you try to do that, just keep the camera on him manually with the right stick, you're gonna have a bad time. Because I certainly did.
Yeah.
So it's not terrible, but it's more of a struggle than I feel like it should be. I'm not gonna say don't play the game because of it, but just be ready for a camera that is maybe not up to 2016 standards in some ways.
The camera's an issue. It gets caught in corners. Mm-hmm. It goes bonkers when you're in tight quarters with Trico.
Yeah. Also, I'm kind of used to it because Final Fantasy 15's camera does that too. So
it's hard though because
apparently if you take 11 years to make a game, your camera's going to suck.
Well, most games never have a character this big.
True.
I mean, usually every character in the game is humanoid size, and I don't know if they can fix it, if there's a way to make it work.
No, but and sometimes it kind of works to its advantage in the sense you go into a little thing. There's been a couple times when I went into a little area to try and find a switch or whatever, and I turned back around and Trico stuck his head through he can't fit, but he stuck his head through the little door and is looking at me like that. And at one point I had to push him out so I could get out again. And it's just it's those little interactions that make him feel real.
He feels alive.
The boy is very well animated too. Can take a licking.
Yeah, the boy's controls are pretty rough, though.
He's a little janky, but if you played Eco in Shadow of the Colossus, I think you know.
It is kind of similar. Yeah. He accelerates really fast. He goes from a trot to full-on sprint in just a nudge of the stick.
I also love when if he's under threat by something, if you're supposed to run away from something. if you stop moving, he like jogs in place, and it's kind of adorable. Like it's like a visual cue to let you know like you should not stop moving right now.
Yeah.
But like he just sort of jogs in place like a speed runner, like waiting at a traffic light, and it's a pretty great animation. There's a lot of great animation stuff in this whole game, but I very much appreciate the boy on top of Trico. Although every once in a while, when you're climbing Trico and he does some sudden move, the boy will spin around in a way. I'm just like, oh, that's a broken wrist. Like you're dead.
Yeah,
like there's no way.
No, he holds on. He's got some strong arms, that kid.
Yeah, he's way stronger than the Shadow of the Colossus guy.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, he'll never drop it.
And there's a couple little quirks with climbing Trico, like if you climb up his leg, he won't just transition onto the body. You have to like jump up onto the body, but that's just being nitpicky.
Yeah, I mean, and also I feel like you'll get used to it. Like you got to learn its quirks a little bit, and much like you have to learn his quirks as an AI.
But overall, like the controls, they don't really demand that much from you.
No,
it's not like you're navigating these. It's not like there's these set piece moments where you're navigating like falling boulders. There may be eventually, but. Right now, the controls are basically just used to platform around and climb up on things and pick up the food barrels and throw the food barrels and
it kind of lends itself to the sort of the feeling of like the boy is not an adventurer. He's not an expert warrior or anything. Like he's unsure, and the controls kind of reflect that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Trico's a baby too. At least, I think they're similar.
So his horns have been sawed off.
Yeah, I think they're similar in age to one another for their respective species. I think.
So it sounds like we're both enjoying.
Look at even the way they've got the black marks under his eyes, so it always looks like he's kind of sad,
crying. Yeah,
it's so manipulative.
Or you
that
could
it works.
say he looks like Alice Cooper.
True.
So I guess we could say we're both enjoying this.
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking at this, and now I'm noticing that his horns in this are longer than the ones in mine. Maybe that's what the barrels do.
Grow his horns?
Yeah. Grow his horns back.
You think? Those look the same as...
No, they don't look... Mine are much flatter than that in the game.
Oh, no, you're right. No, mine are too. They're
and his eyes
sawed off flat.
Yeah, and his eyes glow green when you feed him a barrel. Maybe that's what that is.
Huh. Maybe
I got no idea.
We got to get back and get playing.
Yeah.
We got to wrap up this show, Sifters. All right, let's move along. We'll probably talk again about The Last Guardian next week once Matt and I have kind of finished the game and we've went all the way through it. But and we'll deliver kind of our final verdict, so you guys know whether you should buy it or not. Although I think people at this point have probably either they know already, either they're buying it or they're not.
I ain't canceling my my pre-order for the statue version.
Yeah,
to put it that way.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So we talked a ton. In fact, I didn't realize how long we talked about Final Fantasy 15 last week until we did go laying off the show. It was like an hour's discussion on Final Fantasy 15. As you guys probably remember, I had not played it. Matt had played a ton of it.
If they can take 10 years, we can take an hour.
Yeah, good point. And we're not going to take another hour talking about it this time, but I did want to kind of share my experiences playing it now that I have played it. Matt, you just finished it last night. How many hours, ultimately, before you finished it?
I don't know exactly because I kept pausing it and going to do other things because I was bored. So my final save time is like 72 hours, but I think I only played it for about 50.
Yeah, and also the time rolls up if you just have it paused.
Yeah, the save file time does not stop.
Inaccurate.
Which is annoying, but...
It is kind of annoying.
Whatever.
I mean...
No, it's not like anyone judges you.
That is actually kind of a perfect example of how this game is flawed. That's the type of stuff that this game cannot do right. Just basics that other games have figured out forever ago. This game, for whatever reason, fails to accomplish a lot of them. And that's just another example. Like, modern games, you pause the game, it doesn't include that in your playtime. Like, that's just... But not this one. So, your opinion, Matt, so you talked about it last weekend before all the reviews came out. And then the reviews came out, and wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a difference.
The scores for these reviews, Matt. And I mean, in your defense, every one of these reviews rails on the game.
Yeah, most of them are a list of negative things that end with a 9 out of 10.
I know. It's like, what the heck? And so I was...
And I will also go this far, because now that I've played through the linear part, once you hit Chapter 9, it becomes linear. It's no longer an open world. There's two things about this section that I wanted to talk about. A, it's blatantly obvious the whole game was supposed to be open world.
Yeah.
Because the linear part is literally a whistle-stop tour of the remaining dungeons you have to do before you get to the end of the game. And there's certain points where you stop and it's like, clearly this was meant to be an area.
Yeah.
But instead it's just a train station.
Well, let me give you my perspective, because we got yours last week, an hour's worth of it. So...
But when you're done, I specifically have a chapter I want to talk about later in the game.
So, the reviews came out, and I was like, holy crap. And look, you're usually right on the money with games. And I was like, holy crap, I don't know if I've ever seen Matt's opinion differ so drastically from, it's a consensus. I mean, every site is giving this game a high score. I don't think I saw anything below an 8 from any publication.
But also, let's remember that the Metacritic average for reviews on Final Fantasy XIII is 83. And I don't think most fans would agree with that at this point.
I think the first
either.
week also it was much higher than that, and it's come down over time. So I started playing it. I went and got it. I started playing it. And I'm about 15 hours in, maybe a little more than that. And my opinion is way closer to yours than these reviews. And I mean, it's kind of hard to say that because the reviews point out all the same crap I'm having problems with. It's just like they ignored it. And so I'm wondering, is there a turning point where this game gets good?
Nope.
Because I don't even think the game is good, Matt.
I do not disagree with you.
I'm just, blown away the reviews for this game. I mean...
I don't have an explanation for that, really. And it gets worse as you hit the linear part, because the linear part is worse. It's worse. And you spend most of your time alone. Chapter 13 is what I'm really referring to, which is a three-ish hour forced stealth sequence in which all your abilities, skills, and weapons are removed.
They pull a Metroid.
And you have to walk at about a quarter your normal speed without the ability to sprint through the same mazes over and over and over.
This is what we're seeing right here, right? This is a stealth section.
Yeah, that's one of the stealth sections in a base. This is what I'm talking about. Is Chapter 13 takes place in a long series of corridors in a facility place. And look, if you played Chapter 13 and you still want to give this game a 9, you and I want very different things from video games. Let me put it that way. I don't know what to say to someone who thinks this game is that good. It isn't.
The biggest issue, to sum it up in a nutshell, so we don't end up doing another hour on this game, because I know we could, it is just not a cohesive game.
No.
It's
not a cohesive world either.
Nothing. No. Nothing makes sense. Noctis, his dad dies. Nobody says anything. He doesn't even react. He's just like, oh, that sucks. Nobody comes over and consoles him. It's just like, the whole game is like that. None of it makes any sense.
Well, see, I don't think you're at the point yet. Yeah, I know where you are, and you're not at the point yet where there's another character that's going to die, and everyone is going to be fucking, wailing about how horrible it is, and you are going to, I guarantee you are going to say, who? You are going to have no idea who this character is. And to the end of the game, people complain and are sad about this character dying. And I had no idea.
His dad dies and nobody cares.
No one cares.
There's just crap like that all through this game. None of it makes any sense.
Well, it's like I said, 3 creative directors who didn't talk to each other for the last 2 years developed. There's a side quest where you're supposed to deal with a haunted painting, and everybody is like, well, there's no way that's real. Haunted paintings don't exist. I'm like, we've killed 14 spectral samurai that popped out of the freeway last night. What are you talking about?
No sense whatsoever. There are newspapers in this world. They are still printing newspapers. They have cell phones and flying cars. Mm-hmm. Dude, this game, I'll tell you what. The best review for this game so far was Conan O'Brien's.
Yep.
He is the only one so far who has called this game exactly what it is.
Conan, a Clueless Gamer segment absolutely captures what it felt like for me to play this game.
It
absolutely.
We watched it again after
it was funnier
the Game
this time,
Awards.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched it the first time and laughed, but I laughed at the meta part of it, of him
where PR guys were outside.
Yeah, because I've been a part of that. I've seen these PR people go to these things and be like, "We're going on Conan," and then him just totally throwing a bucket of water on him. Mm-hmm. That was funny the first time.
Oh yeah.
Now that I've played the game, the whole thing is freaking hilarious. He nails it. What were these journalists playing? They lose their minds. I
don't have a...
Dude, the combat is just garbage. Hot garbage. You just hold a button. And twiddle. It even literally says, hold the button and twiddle the stick. What are people... Man, I expected so much more from this game, man.
And I know at least 3 super hardcore Final Fantasy fans who are also playing it. They all hate it more than I do. Like, I don't know who liked this game. Like,
I just keep wondering if something happens all of a sudden that it just turns good.
No, it's the same thing all the way to the end. And that's the other thing is, like, every big fight, like big fight with like the big summons, because there's always the Final Fantasy thing, we have to beat the summon guy and then they join you, and they're all QTEs. They're all like super easy, insta-win QTE tap circle a bunch of times thing. And I'm like, isn't this what we complain about in these games all the modern games? And then like you do that as the major like component of the boss fights in a Final Fantasy game, and everyone gives it a pass.
Dude,
it's so weird.
The fast travel and stuff in this is just broken and dumb. Dude, the car is the dumbest thing ever. It is so stupid. It's like... They force you to sit there and watch the car drive around. Like,
yeah. It's like, how about while I'm waiting for my 9-minute car ride to be over, you show me the cutscene that explains who my fucking father is.
Or, dude, they don't talk.
No?
They'll say, like, one thing the whole time.
How many times are you going to ask Ignis about whether the ebony coffee is really as good as it is? It's the same shit.
And then what happens is I don't pay attention. I get on my cell phone, and then they get to I don't even know they're there. And like 20 minutes later, I look up. I'm like, "Oh, we got there."
Well, then
and then like the fast travel stuff with like the parking spots. It's like you come out of a dungeon. You're like, "Well, let's see. Is there a parking spot here, or should I just drive it, or am I going to need to park at this parking spot and then hoof it, which is fast?" It's like I shouldn't have to worry about.
Well, that's why you have to rent a chocobo.
Game is full of this crap.
People throw the phrase "doesn't respect your time" around a lot for games, but I have never seen anything on the level of Final Fantasy 15 in terms of like, dude, some people need to be somewhere.
Dude, it looks like Square Enix had a AAA game jam and had like 30 development teams come and make their version of Final Fantasy 15, and then they just snapped all of it together and tried to make sense of it. It is...
You've got a bunch of people also talking about how, like, oh my god, the ending is the greatest ending in the history of Final Fantasy, history of video games. Ending's garbage.
Don't say anything.
I'm not going to say anything about it. But like, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's nothing fucking there. I don't know what people are talking about when they praise this game from a narrative perspective. It is the worst narrative. It is the worst constructed narrative in Final Fantasy.
It's the worst beginning to a game. You begin the game pushing a car.
I should note I still like this game better than 13, though.
I don't know if I do. I'm not finished.
I like Noctis, the main character. Again, Noctis is a black hole of a character. The only persistent character trait he has is he's kind to animals. I like the two of the other 3 very much. I like those characters. I feel like I got a handle.
Which ones do you like?
Ignis and Prompto. I feel like I got a handle on who those 2 characters were by the end of the game, and I liked them. Which is more than I can say about anybody in Final Fantasy 13. The fact that Final Fantasy 15 doesn't have lightning in it already puts it probably a tick ahead, frankly. So, yeah, I did like Prompto and Ignis by the end. I still don't understand why they hang around with that loser. I mean, I guess because he's the prince, so you're like they're the royal bodyguards or whatever. But the implication is that they're have been friends with him since childhood, and I just don't get it. And if you watch like the backstory stuff, like the Brotherhood anime and the Kingsglaive stuff, Noctis is a dick to those guys. Like, I don't know why they hang around. There's no reason to like this character, and the game really seems to think you do.
Dude, this game, in my opinion, is a piece of crap. I mean, just to cut to the chase, this is a crappy game.
Yeah.
And if you have not bought it yet, anyone watching this on the stream or who's watching the archive, and you're like someone who's not a Final Fantasy fan, and you thought that you should buy this, because do not. You're going to hate it. I kind of hate it. I mean, look, different strokes for different folks.
Right.
Everyone likes different things. But to me, there are certain parts of this game that's just undeniably bad. I don't care what your perspective is or how big of a Final Fantasy fan you are. There are parts of this game that make no sense and suck. Mm-hmm. Dude, the fact that you go into a dungeon...
You're making me feel less crazy, at least. I don't know what else to tell you.
You go into a dungeon. Like, you have to complete that whole dungeon. There's no saves. You have to complete the whole dungeon, and if you die, Even at the end, at the boss fight, it kicks you all the way back out to the end of the dungeon. You have to go through the whole thing again. No!
Even if there's a campsite in the dungeon, it doesn't save a checkpoint there. It's very weird.
I have to finish this damn thing.
But here's the crazy... Are you doing the eval?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Here's the crazy part, though, is that, I'm 15 hours in or whatever, and we went over and we had a little bit of an X-Play reunion for the night of the Game Awards, and we all got together, had a couple beers. Almost cut my finger off opening a beer, by the way. Had a couple beers. We watched. You guys had already watched the Game Awards, and we go. And then the guy's house that we at, Benson, had already put 100 hours into this game.
He's one of the Final Fantasy hardcore fans who hates
he is. And all he did, he just sat there and just loaded up saves and played captured video that he had taken of the game and just showed us how bad the game is.
And the cup of noodles side quest.
And because I was saying, it's like I kept thinking like there's this point where it gets better or it gets different. Well, he shows me saves from 88 hours into the game, and he's fighting the same enemies in front of the same building.
Yep.
10 years we waited for that.
10 years. 11 years.
11 years.
Yep. It's not good. I don't know what planet you're on if you gave that a 9.
Look,
I don't get it.
Here's one thing I will say, is I could see where somebody buys this and they're like, crap, I spent $60 on this. I could see them just grinding through the game.
Right.
And at a certain point with some RPGs, you just kind of, the plot, and you turn off your brain, and you just grind along and keep fighting the enemies. And if that's what you're looking for, it's got plenty of it. It's a huge game. You can fight the enemies over and over again. There's a couple boss fights that are memorable. Fire off your summons. Get your Final Fantasy rocks off.
If you can get your summons to work, because you don't have control over that.
Right. But for everybody else, man, do not buy this game. Do not buy it. You're not going to like it. If you think even the least bit critically about the games that you play, you're going to find so many issues with Final Fantasy 15.
There is literally nothing in Final Fantasy 15 you haven't seen A, a dozen times or more before, and B, done better.
Way better. Done way better. All of it. You can tell. You can tell this game has been in development for 11 years.
Yeah.
What I've played of The Last Guardian so far, I cannot tell it's been in development. It already is one of the most unique and refreshing games I've played in 2016.
And we'll see. About halfway through The Last Guardian, Trico and the boy get on a train and just stop 3 more times. There's at one point the train just stops. You get out onto the platform. You fight a boss, get back on the train, and that's it. That's the dungeon.
You know what? I would love...
And by the way, the boss that you fight, very clearly not meant to be fought in a narrow rectangle. Like the way his attacks work and all that. Clearly not where you're supposed to be fought.
The camera in this game goes bonkers all the time when you're in the dungeon.
But not just the camera. I'm talking about the way you dodge his attacks. Not feasible in that space. Clearly, they just stuck him there because they had nothing else they could do.
You know what I would love to do?
You can see them slapping duct tape on the thing to get to the end.
I would love to talk to somebody who likes this game, to understand where they're coming from and why they like it so much. I have you, and I have Benson, who's a huge Final Fantasy fan and hates the game. So I've not managed to be able to talk to somebody about this who likes it.
And it's like, I can almost kind of feel like if you're early in the game and you think the whole game is going to be like that, like the open world area, it feels like it's going to be this huge epic game on this scale that you've never seen before, but it really isn't. Because and that's the thing that I think is weird is I remember they showed the whole map of the world of Eos, and they're like, we've only shown you the upper corner of this world in the stuff we've shown you, and so this is the whole world. But that upper corner is the open world. The whole rest of the map is just a train line you go through to get to the other city.
It's linear.
That's it. There's only 2 cities in this game, by the way. 2 towns in the game.
Insane.
And one of them's not even on the map. One of them's not even on the open world map. And so basically they said, here's the whole world. Here's this giant map you can explore. But really, you only explore the upper corner that they already shown you. And the rest of it's just like a very linear sort of, you go on a train and you stop here and you go do a dungeon, you get back on the train, So I'm like, how is that not on the same scale as what the No Man's Sky guys did to us?
Yeah.
Isn't that just misrepresenting what we're going to play? Because I certainly don't feel like I got what I was shown in those demos.
I honestly didn't even really know what to expect. I actually went into this game, other than having talked to you about it on GameFace last week, not knowing a whole lot about it. And
it's just weird.
It didn't really change anything.
And I don't know how
for
many
me.
side quests you've done, but they're all
enough to figure out if they're worth doing, basically.
No, but they're all the same. They're all fetch quests. They're all MMO quests from 2006. That's it. There's nothing more interesting that happens there. They never break the mold. Like games like The Witcher 3, where like some of these, some of the quests, like the hunting stuff, is like go here, kill thing, there you go. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
But most of them have a twist. Most of them, like you go to kill a thing, but it turns out it's something else. You have to follow this thing over here and go over that. Da, da, da. Like, the Final Fantasy 15 never does that. Yeah. Whatever they tell you you're going to go do, that's what you go do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change. It doesn't swerve. It doesn't throw you anything more interesting than that. You go. The open world exists to have a place for you to go to pick up a foozle or kill a thing, and to have a thing for that Audi to drive through. That's it.
The game is also very Japanese. Like, Japanese games, other than like Kojima's games, like there's these awkward like pauses. There's like scenes that dip to black and then the music keeps playing and it just gradually like dissolves. It's just like unprofessional and like hacked together, and like I could go on. Like I could play an hour of this game and I could just point out, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. This is wrong. This is messed up. I mean, it's just all right there. You don't need to like find a particular place. It's just the whole game is like that. I really disappointed in this game. Really, really disappointed in it. I don't really get a Final Fantasy vibe from the game at all either. Like, other than like the effeminate characters with the goofy haircuts, like.
The elements are, there's a Leviathan and the Titan and the Bahamut and there's chocobos, and riding the chocobos is actually probably one of the best parts of the game.
It is, yeah, you're right. It's where I've had the most fun, probably.
Yeah. And I'll continue, even having finished it, I still say the one part of this game that I will unreservedly praise is the music.
Yeah.
It's not
the
best.
music has been good.
It's not the best Final Fantasy soundtrack ever, but the music's good.
Yeah. And I mean, technically, the graphics, like, they're fine.
I think they're very uneven. I think the LOD is very weird.
No, when you drive, like, you see, like, all the
stuff
trees
drops
drawing in. And
every once in a while, you'll, like, there's, like, a rock area where, like, you'll just see, like, that's the texture you went with? Really?
Yeah.
It's like, it's little things. It's not like
but the game overall looks good.
Okay.
It runs pretty well. Like, I don't really have any issues with the graphics.
I have issues I have issues with their hair. And I know it's like, it's a nitpick, but it's like, you're having these, like, supposedly dramatic moments in these real-time cutscenes, and all I can see is that Noctis's hair is dithering his fucking eye out. It's like, I'm like, why can't you get the, I mean,
I have problems with just core elements of this game. Like, the graphics to me are the least of my concerns.
But but that's what I'm saying is, like, there's no place you can land where you're safe in this game. There's always something that's like, why? Like, everywhere. Except the music. Music's good.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. I have to trudge forward in this game to finish the eval. I'm not excited about it at all, but it is what it is. Let's talk about PSX 2016. The reason we pushed the show to today, just so we could get all the information in from PlayStation Experience 2016, or at least all the information that comes out at its press event, which, honestly, looking back on prior PSXs, most of the information comes out in the press conference. Yeah. And there's a couple nuggets.
They do have their secret panels.
Right, and there's a couple nuggets that kind of come out throughout the course of the weekend, but we have pretty much the big stuff now, and is there anything bigger, Matt, than The Last of Us Part 2?
For me, yes, but probably not overall for most people.
For this show, you have something bigger?
For me, yeah.
Yeah, I guess Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah. And actually, I was very happy to see Ni no Kuni 2 get shot.
Again, we finally got another look at that.
They've been kind of running silent for a while, so it was nice to see them pop up.
So The Last of Us Part 2, it appears to be 4 to 5 years after the last game.
Ellie's older.
Looking at Ellie, she looks like she went from 13 to around 18 or something like that, in that age range.
Well, it's hard to tell because the zombie apocalypse ages a face.
Yeah, so. I can see why. But this initial trailer, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are going to be disappointed that it is what it is, but on a technical level, it's a pretty amazing trailer.
Oh, technically, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, think about real time modeling these guitar strings. I mean, they show the close up of the guitar. You can see every little nick in the wood. Like, yeah. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in real time in a video game. Have you? A real rendered guitar with strings that vibrate and play? I mean, let's talk about the banjo from Banjo.
No. Naughty Dog and a Naughty Dog.
Which is made out of about 4 polygons. Not the most exciting trailer, but impactful.
Yeah, it brings them back, effectively. She still kind of looks like Ellen Page.
Look at the face. Just the detail in the face. Like, I think they said right before they debuted this trailer, this is Naughty Dog's updated engine. So we're assuming it's even more powerful than what they were working with for Uncharted 4.
And they also said very, very early.
Yeah, so, which means
don't expect this one anytime soon. But
I'm kind of surprised Naughty Dog would debut it already.
I didn't expect them to show this soon. No, I mean,
it was a big shocker.
They did, but
yeah, and they're back together. A lot of people thought maybe the new game wouldn't have either one of them, or it would just have one of them.
Background characters, or be about new people. But nope.
It is straight up about Joel and Ellie. Just a few years later, they talk about something about revenge.
She's going to kill them all, whoever they are.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Is it the people who wronged him in the last game? Is it all the zombies, which wouldn't make much sense, because I don't think you could ever kill them all.
Oh, I think you could. That's the thing about The Last of Us is, like, it's a very manageable apocalypse, really.
Yeah.
Just don't go where they are, and eventually you'll be able to kill them all off. And it's not like it's not like The Walking Dead, where when anyone dies, they come back to life as a zombie, which is going to be a problem in safe zones if somebody dies.
You made a good point, though. There was all that big dust-up about her looking like Ellen Page or whatever, and so you figure they have to make a drastic change for her in this game, but not so much.
No, she still kind of looks like... I mean, there are people who look like Ellen Page. It's not like Ellen Page is a trademark of her face or anything. But it's still there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think they did a great job. Like, they nailed it. It's like, it's not close enough to where she's going to get pissed off again, but it's not so far away that you can't tell who she is. Like, they did a great job. And look, character models are something that change in development all the time, so it could ultimately be different in the final release, but I think they've done a pretty good job with it so far.
We don't know. I mean, maybe those guys who, like all the people
Look
later...
at the detail in her face, like her eyelids there. It's just amazing.
Yeah, maybe they can put something into the game that I haven't played before then.
Yeah.
I was not a huge fan of Last of Us.
I didn't enjoy playing
as a game.
The game all that much.
Yeah. Probably the best story in terms of a character relationship I've seen presentationally in a video game. As the game I played, meh.
Yeah, the actual gameplay of it wasn't all that exciting, and it was really off-putting how you were it's supposed to be a stealth game, but like...
and everybody's... Especially Bill. Was it Bill?
Yeah.
Like, he's just running back and forth. At one point, Joel is the only one taking cover, and everyone else is just sort of sprinting back and forth in front of zombies.
I feel like Naughty Dog had a moment where they were just like... that moment of realization where
it wasn't gonna work.
Where it's just not going to happen. Yeah. And they're like, our whole game now has to have this in it. And I was shocked when I first played it. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, they just can't see these people running out in plain sight? Like,
I'm going to bet that is not
a problem with this one.
The new one. They're going to fix that for this one,
Guaranteed. I guarantee it. I mean, maybe it just won't even be stealth.
Maybe. I would not have a problem with that.
I wouldn't either.
But there were way too many moments in that game where what you're talking about happened, and like I was just like, where's the Benny Hill theme at this point?
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm sure someone has that video on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah. I still enjoyed The Last of Us.
I enjoyed the story part. I got tired of... I thought it got better gameplay-wise as you built your kind of bag of tricks.
Yeah.
Like by the time, by a little over halfway, like Joel had a lot of different ways to handle things.
Yeah.
And that was better to me. But early on, like, I was so sick of, like, doing, shivving, like, whatever, the infected things. I was just like, oh, God, how many... It's like... And it was like the contrast between like how great the presentation was narratively and character-wise and dialogue-wise and performance-wise with what I was playing was really stark to me.
I mean, that's kind of Naughty Dog's MO, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it doesn't generally break boundaries with its gameplay. I mean, you look at Uncharted, it's
I get
beautiful game.
I get that it's also like I don't have that problem with Uncharted because I like the way I like the type of game Uncharted is gameplay wise, and I don't particularly like stealth games. So Last of Us like alienated me more quickly than Uncharted did.
Yeah.
And that's the reverse is true of a lot of other people. So it's like I'm not saying I don't understand why people liked playing it, but for me, I really hope there's a little more verve in the gameplay design this time.
Agreed. Auspicious debut.
But goddamn, that looks good.
It sure does, man. I mean, it looks better than Uncharted 4, and that's saying something. So, all right, let's talk next about Uncharted 4. Debut the story DLC for Uncharted 4. They kicked off the press conference with this. I will admit I had no idea what this was until the very end, because it's a stealth. It's a stealth level, and she's cloaked.
But it's sort of a stealth in plain sight level. It's a nice twist on it.
I
think I
she
didn't
caught at the beginning. And...
I didn't see it like I tuned in too late, so you played it for me. I think I would have known it was Uncharted because only Naughty Dog makes environments that look that good. Frankly, like I would have known it was Naughty Dog. I think I knew what Last of Us 2 was the first shot. I'm like, oh, that's Last of Us. Like no one else does graphics that look like that. I mean, it's just they are the top of the game.
I did not pick up that this was Uncharted 4.
I would not have guessed who it was, I don't think.
I didn't pick up anything. I didn't pick up that it was the game, or I thought it was a new game. Even though I knew that Uncharted 4 was supposed to show off story DLC at the press conference.
This just has a Naughty Dog look to it in terms of the detail and...
Well, maybe if you could hear it, it throws you off a little bit, because the people sound like they have Pakistani accents or whatever that are talking, and like that was... Basically, this whole setting... All the characters and everything are nothing like anything in Uncharted 4. So they did a really good job of kind of throwing people off. It seemed the response online, most people had no idea that's what it was until the reveal at the end.
I don't know if I would have called it as being Uncharted, but...
You would have said it was a Naughty Dog game.
This just looks like Naughty Dog to me.
I think I was kind of duped into thinking, too, there's those 3 unannounced panels... And I was like, oh, well, they're going to announce a game. They're going to kick off the show with an unannounced game, and they're going to close the show with an unannounced game. And so I assumed that probably subconsciously that this wasn't Uncharted. Stealth, pretty much, is this entire mission is stealth. You get caught here in the beginning, but eventually it turns into a legitimate stealth mission to get to the top of the building. You get to the top, and that's where the big reveal happens. It's basically Chloe and Nadine. Are you fans of those characters?
I like Chloe.
Yeah. I like
Nadine. I can kind of take her lead.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, I'll take both of them any day over Sam. So I'm happy that it's them.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the whole DLC isn't stealth. I hope this isn't I hope this isn't like a stealth-focused like story DLC. One,
Chloe can
two,
handle. Chloe can handle a pistol. I think we'll be shooting some people at some point.
2, I would be totally cool if Naughty Dog just kept making new episodes for this. Like, there's no reason to stop. Like, you have the engine. The game looks as good as every other PlayStation 4 game is ever going to look. Like, it was so far ahead of the curve when it came out. All these other developers would be playing catch-up with this engine for the rest of this generation. It's like, it looks good enough. You don't need to make a sequel. Just keep putting out DLC for this. Turn it into a platform like we were talking about, like with Overwatch. Like, make it this living thing that you just update. Charge us $20 or $30 every time you put out story DLC. Like, it's something that Rockstar should have learned with Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, when you work on the quality level that you have with a Naughty Dog or a Rockstar North, people will pay for that DLC. I mean, it was proven last generation with all the DLC for Grand Theft Auto 4, Ballad of Gay Tony and all that stuff. So
that they don't make anymore.
Yeah, which they don't do anymore. So I'm stoked on this. Like, even if it is just a stealth mission, charge me $20 for it, and it's 5-6 hours long, I'm in. Like, I highly doubt it'll be that long. Is the first thing.
I feel like it's probably going to be like a 2-hour thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. But 2 hours, $15?
Yeah, especially if it revisits characters that I felt were ignored in the main game.
Yeah.
I'm up for that, for sure.
I'm pumped about this. I'm glad to see Naughty Dog is doing story DLC. I hope that this same thing happens with The Last of Us Part 2. And they just turn into these platforms that can live on. And now that they have like this architecture with their games, where they're basically PCs, like conceivably, both of these games are going to be playable on the PlayStation 7 someday or whatever. And so you can kind of build it as a platform and not as these kind of standalone experiences anymore. So
unless they decide to draw a line at some point, because damn, remasters are a thing right now for Sony.
Yeah, and we're going to get to a little bit of that in a minute. Horizon Zero Dawn, they showed a brand new trailer. I believe they're doing a panel for it as well. The trailer is amazing. It looks great. At the end of the trailer, they finally hint a little bit to the whole mystery. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see at the end where they go...
Like zooms into the facility kind of place. Like,
well, they go like underground, it
yeah.
looks like, and it's like this mechanized like cave or something.
And the crab things are bringing stuff back into it.
Yeah.
It's like something's going on. Basically, I figured that was going to be the whole thing. It's like, who are these...
Look at that shot right there.
Who are these machines doing stuff for? Why do they still exist? I love every single creature in this game looks ridiculous, and I love it.
I know, it's awesome, dude.
It's really good.
I just can't believe
I love these
little
little scavengers with the blades in their mouth that just cut the metal. They're so well thought out.
I can't believe this is Guerrilla, man. I cannot believe they're making this game. It is so far beyond anything it's done so far, like creatively and thematically and genre-wise.
Look at that. That's really good.
know.
The fact that there's like an ecosystem is really cool.
And they haven't delayed it. They did not say today, like, oh, it's been that was my fear, is that they're going to come and be like, oh, well, we got to get it.
See you in September.
No, it's on like Donkey Kong for this game, so hallelujah. I cannot wait to play that game. I'm so excited for it. That trailer just cranked up my hype even further, if that's even possible.
Nothing but good news for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep. Another game that was kind of leaked last week, although we thought it was called Marvel vs. Capcom 4, it's actually called Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Well, it's the fourth game. I mean,
Yeah. Again, I think they actually announced that they're turning this into a platform.
Yeah.
I think that was part of their official announcement for it.
I told y'all not to give up hope on Marvel 4.
Yeah. Well, here it is. Didn't get to see much, but apparently tonight on the Capcom Pro
after
Tour...
Capcom Cup, there's going to be the first gameplay.
They will show the first gameplay of it. I mean, this CG trailer is good enough for me right now.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm happy. They've got Mega Man X is in. People have been questioning that they wanted him to be added to Marvel 3 since the beginning.
Right.
So that's cool.
Are there any... There's one character at the end.
You got Captain Marvel. It's awesome.
What characters are they showing that have not appeared in one yet?
Captain Marvel has not appeared in any of these. Mega Man X, was he in...
I know Mega Man's been in it before.
Mega Man has. I don't know if X has. Zero has. I don't think X has.
And then who's
Where's the other character?
There's a character at the end that's like in silhouette.
Let me see if I can tell.
You'll see. Hopefully, I think.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was Ultron at first.
There. And then these other eyes light up.
And then the other eyes light up down there. I thought it was Ultron, and then the eyes lit up in the chest, and I thought that looks more like Arnim Zola to me.
I had no idea who it was.
The face in there. So it looks, or it could be somebody totally new. Who knows? Or an amalgam of a Capcom and a Marvel villain. Like, who knows? I do not know who that is.
Do you think it's possible that this becomes Capcom's marquee fighting franchise, Matt? With the way Street Fighter V is done?
Maybe. I don't know. I hope they have one. That's how about that? I'll just go. I hope one of them does.
Ends up becoming that, yeah. I mean, look, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 still at EVO.
Yeah, and will remain apparently,
right?
Judging by that, especially since they put Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 up on PS4 today.
Yeah.
And by the way, the other thing they put up was a PS4 version of Garu Mark of the Wolves from SNK.
That's insane.
If you like fighting games at all, go get that one because that's one of the best of all time. I like that PSX has that. That they do that day of stuff for a lot of things.
Sure.
That's pretty
exciting.
slick.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that they announced that was going live today at the show.
Yeah. So yeah, this is cool. I'm looking forward to. I'm not going to say I'm surprised by it.
Well, nobody was because it was basically spoiled last week or whatever.
Well, I was spoiled a little before that.
Oh yeah, you did know about it beforehand. Yeah.
I don't know who's in it, but I do know who's not in it. So we'll
Were you willing to share, Matt Kyle?
Well, there won't be any X-Men or Fantastic Four because the movie licenses, and I've heard that I don't have any evidence of this, but I am going to guess that Shuma Gorath might not be in it. because Shumagorath is not a Marvel-created character, and they have had some rights issues with that recently in the comics.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe they don't want to touch that at this point.
See, the reason I think
Shumagorath was actually from I think Robert Howard Conan stories. So Shumagorath is like 100 years old as a character, and is, I think, public domain. So Marvel may not be interested in playing with that piranha right now.
See, the reason I think that this might end up becoming ultimately Capcom's flagship fighter is because it has Street Fighter characters in it.
Yeah.
It's like, and they're already a part of it.
Well,
and
and here's
it's
the
very
thing.
easy to bring them in. Like,
Right. Well, and also here's the thing: if you can get knowledge and word of this game out to the audience that goes to see the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you got a hit on your hands.
yeah, I mean,
Like-
look, Street Fighter V is tanked.
Yeah.
I mean, not even really relatively speaking. Like, it's just flat out tanked at this
Well, I
point.
mean, I have to believe that is part of how this deal got done. I mean, clearly they've been working on it for a while, but like somewhere someone saw the writing on the wall and said like, "Hey, it might be good to be in the corner." I mean, I think anyone in entertainment right now thinks it's good to be in Marvel's good graces.
Oh, yeah.
because those movies are defining
Get
pop
that Marvel
culture.
pin action.
So I'm not surprising.
I mean, also
that
keep in mind, this
happened.
trailer today was released by Marvel,
Yeah,
not by Capcom.
yeah.
Because it was today, for whatever reason, Sony did not publish all the media from the presser. Like, it waited while all these crappy YouTube channels were putting up these streams where they had captured from the stream. It looked terrible.
Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering what Captain Marvel's outfit in the movies are going to look like, I bet it looks like that.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure they worked with Marvel on
yeah.
it. So,
Just like how when Marvel 3, no one knew who the hell Rocket Raccoon was.
Right.
And now I bet you he'll be back.
yeah, well, I'm sure.
So,
I'm sure the whole cast will be back.
Oh yeah, you'll have a whole Guardians contingent. You'll have all the.
It's awesome.
It's
It's
great.
really awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I think that this could end up becoming ultimately like the fighting game from Capcom.
That's why, like, even as someone who was always more of the Marvel fan than the Capcom fan with this series, I'm way more interested to see what the Capcom characters are.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who the hell they're going to pick.
Yeah.
You know? There's going to be some returnees, but I bet there's going to be some new ones
The
that we
problem
never would have
for
thought of.
Capcom though is that like it's not making any new games. So, and it's already milked so many of its characters for these games in the past. It's like, who is there left to put in?
I'd say bring back that Red Earth T-Rex
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like,
I'm just
why
saying,
not?
like,
Let's do it.
If you're not making new games, it's hard to have new characters for a fighting franchise.
Yeah, but like, I think the requests tend to be tend to be from classic characters that have sort of been forgotten but are fan favorites.
Yeah.
I'll bet you. I bet you. Finally, after years of requests, because Jurassic World was so big, we are going to get Regina from Dino Crisis. And she's going to summon raptors.
And people will be
all
like,
that
who the
kind of
hell
shit.
is Regina from
Doesn't
Dino
matter.
Crisis?
Doesn't matter. That's half the roster of the Capcom
is,
side
yeah.
most of the
No, you're
time. It's
right.
like, even I'm just like, who's the witch with the
Yeah.
thing? I don't know who that is. Like, and she's from like some puzzle game that never came here. Again. It's
Right,
like, whatever, great.
They're running. Like I said, they're running out of options there. So,
As long as you bring back Amaterasu, I'm fine.
yep. Let's move on. Crash Bandicoot remaster. What the hell? There's some kind of corny name for it.
Oh,
Crash Bandicoot and
and
Insane Trilogy.
yeah, something like that.
I think that's what it is. Insane Trilogy. This is the first look at it, by the way.
The animation's nice. I don't think I can adequately explain in English how much I don't care about this.
Yeah, I don't care either.
Like I know
I
there's
never liked Crash
No.
back when he came out. I always
No,
thought he was just like a cheap knockoff of Super Mario 64.
Well, that's pretty much what he was, but
And cheap is right. Like, you run down like a chute the whole time. It's
Right.
like it's not free. I could never understand.
well, it's just like that's one of the things that Uncharted 4 really drove home this year was when you have to play the level of Crash. I'm like, God, this game was garbage.
Yeah.
And you're running towards the camera,
I know.
then jumping
you can't
over
see
pits.
anything.
I mean,
you have to memorize the whole level.
It
yeah.
brought back how much I hated them back in the day. And I know there's a whole generation of people that were like 10 when this came out, and it's their
Yeah.
favorite thing. They can't wait, and like that's whose nostalgia is being cashed in on with this. It's not for me. I understand that, but like, wow, I don't like Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Like, I really can't emphasize that enough.
I'm not a fan either.
It looks nice.
I guess.
I mean, in terms of like what it used to look like.
Well, yeah, it's a huge jump up.
But like,
Perfect timing
or
there.
even like in terms of what he looks like in Skylanders, I think the animation's good, it works, but I ain't gonna play it.
Yeah, my interest level in this is very low. But I know there's people out there who
Yeah.
think I'm crazy and love Crash Bandicoot, and that's
No,
totally fine. Just not my
there's
thing.
stuff I loved when I was 10 that you would think is stupid too.
Yep. Resident Evil 7. We got really what you could say was the first real trailer for Resident Evil 7 today.
Yeah, we kind of actually at least know the premise.
Yeah, there's
So-
we know the plot and what is going on now.
Yeah. When in doubt, if you steal the character motivation from Silent Hill 2, you're in pretty good
that's
shape.
exactly
Yeah.
what it is. They totally stole the plot from Silent Hill 2. So you're playing a husband who believes his wife was killed or died 2 years earlier, and suddenly he starts getting phone calls from her, and he gets summoned to the Baker Mansion, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Brand new demo today that is playable on PlayStation VR, completely free. Maybe the first game that I can remember that had 3 separate demos in the span of about 3 or 4 months, mind you. This game hasn't been announced all that long. So everyone can go play the new demo now. I have not had a chance to give it a whirl because I've been busting my butt all day.
They must have some confidence in this thing if they're letting you touch it that much.
But they don't have that much confidence in it. They think that's going to sell 3 or 4 million copies. I think it's going to do way better than that. Way better. Than 3 or 4 million? Oh, yeah.
How much did 6 sell?
More than that. 5 or 7, I think, around there.
I don't know if it's going to sell that much out of the gate, but I feel this one might have legs. You know what I mean?
I think it's going to sell really well.
Will it sell as well as Final Fantasy 15?
Probably not.
That's 5 million.
Oh, no, I think that's just the first week of Final Fantasy 15.
That's what they shipped. If you go
Right.
to stores, it's stacked. Copies stacked to the ceiling.
Yeah, and some of the publications were reporting that was sold, too.
Oh, it was not sold.
It's not the case.
No.
Yeah. When I went to Best Buy to buy mine, there were just towers of Final Fantasy 15 sitting there. So there's definitely a lot of copies out in the retail channels, but I still think it's going to do really well.
It'll do fine. But I mean, remember that shipped is all the publisher cares about because they
Right.
already sold them. You know?
Yeah, but if you watch Pack Factor, they do if the retailers send it back,
Right,
they
it's
do
a
have to give
return
money
thing.
back to Best Buy or whatever. So they're not completely off the hook for it.
Yeah, well,
but-
they got a while before they worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the game's going to sell well. I think it'll sell better than Resident Evil 7 over the long haul. I think, Resident Evil 7 will probably get to 5 to 7 million. I think Final Fantasy 15 will get probably eventually to around 10.
That's apparently their break-even point, so you better hope.
That's so much.
It's 10 years.
That's crazy.
Kingdom Hearts 3 will make more money than they can count anyway. It won't matter.
You're right. They'll make it all back if they ever release a damn thing. We'll see how that goes. Next up, Ace Combat 7.
Yeah.
It's a game you've been really excited for over the last year.
Yep.
Because it was announced at PSX last year,
last
right?
year, yeah.
And we haven't seen squat from it until a year
Until
ago.
A year later. Hopefully, I presume it'll come out a year from now. So
This trailer shows off a lot more of what you typically think of with Ace Combat, which is
Yeah.
plot and cinemas.
stupid overwrought plot,
Yeah.
which I love. Really, go pick up Ace Combat 6 for super cheap and just how charmingly terrible that story is. It's
But
amazing.
see, that to me is the extreme of what Final Fantasy 15 is.
Right.
You see shades of that in Final Fantasy 15.
But Final Fantasy 15 doesn't know the little creatures in nature. They don't know that they don't know that they're ugly. You
Yeah.
know? Final Fantasy 15 does not know it's stupid. Whereas Ace Combat 6 is embracing the cheese they are to the metal.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And also the great thing about Ace Combat 6's story is it has almost nothing to do with flying jets.
Yeah.
It's super weird. But I really like these games, and
I still think I'm going to vomit from playing this game, but
yeah, in VR, I am all up on the VR for this thing. I am super excited to play it in VR. I love cockpit games in VR. That's my favorite so far.
they seem to be the genre that work the best.
In terms of non-room scale stuff, I think that's the stuff that works the best for me.
Yeah.
I was playing some Eve Valkyrie, or Gun Valkyrie. Is it Eve? Yeah, it's Eve Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Gun Valkyrie is an
Gun
Xbox
Valkyrie
Sega
is-
game.
right.
And Gun Jack is the Eve turret shooter. Gotcha. So I've been playing Eve Valkyrie on the PSVR a bit, and I love it. It's I love Starfighter stuff, so it's great to be able to play the thing and immerse yourself in the thing. B, I'm really good at that game apparently because routinely I'll play multiplayer matches and I'm I have 15, 16 kills and then number 2 guy has 4.
No.
And I don't know if it's throwing me into newbie games or whatever, but I played flight sims forever in the 90s and so nice to have something to play again. So I'm looking forward to this.
It looks good. I'm shocked that it is a PlayStation VR game because to me it looks too good to be a PlayStation VR game. But
well, I'm sure it won't look this good in the goggles.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because the same thing with like Robinson. Like Robinson looks good when you play in VR, but you take your mask off and look at the screen. You're like, wow, it looks so much better.
Yeah.
But it'll be fine. You know, it is what it is in that regard.
Next up, the game that no one asked for, Knack 2. Matt, can you believe they're making another Knack?
Not really, no.
I feel like this was them.
Would not have called this one. I would have lost this. I would have lost this bet.
I mean, I knew immediately when they started what it was.
Yeah.
They showed the character, and I was like, "It's freaking Knack."
What Mark Cerny wants, Mark Cerny gets.
I mean, that's pretty much the way I look at it. They're like, "We need to placate him in some way. He does so much for us. This is his baby. We'll give it a sequel. We have this development team sitting around with nothing to do." I can't understand why they would make the sequel to this game.
Look, co-op.
Right.
You can inflict knack on a friend.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say is, like, I assume that, like, you know, they've heard the criticisms and they know the shortcomings, and maybe they'll, you know, come out of the gate. You know, maybe they'll come out of the gate swinging on this one. You know.
Appropriate.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's not a launch game this time, so they should have as much time as they need. It's just the characters and the world and the gameplay, they're just, all of them do nothing for me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I agree. I don't care.
Did anybody like Knack?
People
in
like
the chat?
I don't know about in the
like
chat.
Knack?
I've seen people who like Knack. There's a huge Knack defense force on NeoGAF. Like there's a group of people that love that game.
Yeah.
For sure. I am not one of them.
Yeah.
But
I'm not either.
hell, here's the other. Well, I mean, the flip side is, like, yeah, the art style and the look of it just does not appeal to me whatsoever. If it does appeal to you, there's not a whole lot that looks like that.
That's true.
So, like, it's kind of like your only option there, I guess.
That is a really ugly art style, though.
They look like My Pet Monsters.
It just doesn't look coherent. Like, it doesn't look like those creatures belong in that world.
No, it looks like something out of, like, Little Big Planet, like, invaded a Naughty Dog game.
I'm also surprised it's not like a VR game. Like, I could see them doing, like, Knack VR. It's some, like, experience or whatever.
Yeah, like, kind of that, like they used to do with the motion control stuff.
Right.
Where it's like, we don't know what else to do with this franchise, so we're going to do a terrible motion control
Exactly.
game out of it.
Like, I could see
Hello,
them,
Fable.
I could see them doing something like that, but to create a full-blown sequel for this, I
don't know.
The loss for words.
Considering games that don't get sequels, and then this does.
I know. It's that Cerny power. Next up, Ni no Kuni 2. When was the last time we saw this? Was it also PSX?
Maybe, or maybe an E3 back there somewhere.
I can't remember when it was debuted.
I can't remember.
I know it's been way too long. Yeah, it's been too long. And the first trailer that we got for this game was pretty much just all cinematics.
Yeah.
So is this one, actually. I mean, it's mostly
But you
cinematics.
see some, I mean, at least this is probably in engine.
You actually do see some semblance of gameplay. And I think one of the tip-offs is that it doesn't look as good as, like,
Right.
some of the cinemas do. I'm excited for this.
I like this guy. He's like Otacon gone evil.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
I mean, the first Ni no Kuni, it seemed like it was kind of polarizing. Like, the people that liked it, loved it.
I liked it a lot. I didn't finish it because it's so long.
You're a big Ghibli fan, right?
I love Studio Ghibli, yeah. I mean, I don't automatically love everything they make, but, like, I love the art style, and, like, you can see it come through in this and the first one. This looks like it probably has a little more going on in the combat.
It looks like Kingdom
one.
Hearts.
I'm gonna miss the Welsh guy guiding me around.
Yeah.
Who I routinely would come in here in the early days of Sifted and ask Marcus Spear for translations of various Welsh quirks that the
He
character
actually
has.
loved Ni no Kuni, which is
Yeah.
really bizarre, because Marcus usually doesn't like games like that.
Well, the thing is, like, you know how we, like, complain sometimes about, like, the Japaneseness of some of the like, that's not really there.
No, you're right, it's not.
in that game.
No, you're right.
And it's, you know, but that's kind of Studio Ghibli in a nutshell. It's like they don't fall into that trap. They don't fall into that, like, anime trope trap.
No, you're right.
You know, they always make something that is for a kind of a universal audience.
That's why they make films that actually end up in movie theaters.
Right.
And people actually go to watch
and
them.
nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
I mean,
It makes a big difference.
Yeah. And so, I mean, all you need to tell me on this game is when.
Yeah. It looks like combat looks predominantly the same.
Not the same.
Those
It
few
look,
clips
you know,
that we saw.
Maybe it'll be a little less, like, stop and go. I thought that was like
Yeah.
one of the only issues with the combat in the first game was, like, I felt like it was not flowing too well.
Yeah.
Like I kept like mentally drawing a comparison to Final Fantasy XII, which I thought flowed really well because you were able to set up the gambits ahead of time, so you could kind of dictate how everybody behaved, and you didn't really have to babysit anyone.
Yep.
I'm kind of wondering if they do something a little more like that in this one, because the first one was not an easy game.
No, it wasn't. Not at all. It was huge too.
Yeah.
It's a really big game.
And definitely going to be on top of if they do a collector's edition. The first one's collector's edition was one of my favorites of all time. It came with because there's a big book in the game that's like a major plot MacGuffin basically, and the book came in the collector's edition, and it's the whole book, like written pages, a couple hundred pages. It's like and when the character like flips open to the page in the book, that page is in the real book.
Right.
I mean, it's all legit. And like that attention to detail just tickles something in my brain. So.
Yep. Really excited for that one. They didn't really say when it's coming out. Just next year? Did they even say next year?
I don't know if they even said that. I would not be. I mean, certainly. I think it did say 2017, but that's one of those games where I'm feeling like maybe I wouldn't be surprised to see it 2018 in America.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, the trailer was in English, which is a good sign.
That's a good sign. Yeah, for real. It looks amazing. The art in that game is just stunning.
And you don't on this run day. You do not have one of my other big announcements.
Oh, really?
Which is the two Yakuza 6 and the Yakuza 1 remake are coming to the West.
I just assumed that they were.
No one never assumed.
Really? Because Yakuza 0 is already on the way. They already announced that.
Yeah, but Sega will never promise anything. I mean, the fact that they're promising that far out, that Yakuza 6 is early 2018.
2018, yeah.
And I didn't think we were going to get the remake of 1 at all.
Okay.
That surprised. I mean, I figured 6 would probably make it eventually, but the fact that we're getting Kimura that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I didn't expect that. That means only Yakuza 2 is not playable in a modern form.
The only reason I didn't put it in the rundown is because I just assumed it was happening.
As a Yakuza fan, no Yakuza fan assumes that's happening.
Let's see, Vox 91 saying Ni no Kuni 2017.
All right.
That's good news.
Vox 91, The Wind Rises is Miyazaki's best movie, I think.
Just a couple other things we're going to mention. There's a lot more, obviously, and you should go watch the whole press conference because it is literally just jammed.
It's a Gatling gun of game trailers.
I love how Sony, does this press conference. We've talked about it before.
Although, I do have one little production criticism that I've had for pretty much everything they've done for a couple years. When it's time to cut to the trailer, cut to the trailer. Like, stop showing me the jib shot of the whole audience because, especially like Yakuza, like, Kazuma says a couple things I couldn't read the subtitles because the long shot was too wide. Like, cut to the game. I don't need to see there's people in the audience. I know there's people in the audience.
Kiwami is the name of
Kiwami?
Yeah.
Not Kimura? I don't know what.
Here's another thing that I don't like about PSX and a lot of fan events is that a lot of people who attend those are like, oh, this is my chance to get some attention. So they just start yelling random stuff to the people on stage. And then some of it's funny, some of it's stupid, but no matter whether it's funny or stupid, they have to stop the press conference. And it creates like this awkward thing where they're like, oh, should I address this person who just yelled out at the top of his lungs? Like, I don't know.
It's a fan event, so like I kind of, I wouldn't encourage
But look, the first couple fan events, it was fine. Like, I don't know if you watched it today, but I thought it was like completely out of control. Like,
there's a lot of wooing and yes.
It's not even that. It's like people just yelling stuff, like trying to yell jokes and whatnot. It's like obviously people just looking for attention, and I don't know. Like, I just thought it was in poor taste, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and like early on, the mic was too close to some girl who kept squealing or something.
Yeah.
It's people.
I don't mind the people clapping
people
and
at an
enjoying
event and they're excited and yelling. I mean,
But I don't think that's what it is. I'm fine with people cheering and having a good time and yelling and getting excited over stuff. That's not what this is. These are people looking. They wait for it to get quiet, and then they yell something at the top of their lungs. It's all about attention. They want attention. They want people to look at it and be like, oh, you're funny. Like, it's just lame. Doesn't bother you.
Not really. That's why I don't go. I mean, just like watching the thing and then somebody does that, whatever. Like, I don't do it.
I think it's annoying. They keep stopping what they're saying, and they're like, bro, like, shut up.
Yeah, but it's like that's the flavor of the event. That's how it is. Like, don't do it at it pissed me off at E3 because that's not what that's for.
But what happens when eventually people get, because look, it's changed a lot over the last 3. Like, at first, people would just be like, Shuhei, or whatever. That's fine. But you're like, now you have people like yelling complete sentences and like jokes. So like, how much next year? What happens? Somebody starts yelling like "you're ugly" or whatever. Like I don't know. I just think it's bad and in poor taste.
It's a fan event. That's kind of like how it goes.
Yeah, but it keeps going that way. They'll stop having the fan events because eventually someone's going to yell something that's really embarrassing, and they're going to start looking at this and saying, "Well, maybe we need to readjust." Because all it takes is one person.
I don't think Sony will be scared off of PSX by a couple of inappropriate screaming people.
I don't know. In this PC world we live in. Just a couple other things to wrap up. Parappa the Rapper remaster coming.
Cool.
Care?
Sure.
Kinda.
I mean, yeah, I'll play it.
Like-
I love Parappa.
Yeah.
Didn't like 2 or Jammer Lammy that much.
No,
but I
it's
like
just the first one.
Yeah.
And that is what they're doing. They're remaking the first one. Wipeout Omega Collection. A collection of basically all the tracks, vehicles, everything from all the Wipeout games. That's great.
Thumbs up.
I feel like they've
Great soundtrack.
I feel like they've cheapened Wipeout a little bit because they kind of
True.
did that version on
True.
PlayStation 3 that was
Meh.
and like it ended up being like free to play. I
Look,
think.
they're never gonna top XD.
Yeah.
So, but like, I'm happy to have more Wipeout,
Yep. But overall,
even if it's the old Wipeout.
what do you give that press conference? Letter grade?
I'm gonna give it a sucker an A.
An A?
Yeah, maybe an A minus. But yeah, there's not really much I could have wanted more out of that thing, like especially at this time of year.
Yeah. I mean, when I grade these press conferences, I don't take into account like what time of year it is. I just say, how good was that press conference?
I really liked it.
And so I compare it to like the E3 press conference whenever I give it letter grades. And with just one reveal of a new game, well, I guess Infinite counts, even though we knew about it beforehand. But 2 reveals in a press conference, that's still great. But that gets a B from me.
I don't care about reveals so much as content and stuff I want to see.
But see, I would have rather seen like some other games. And no offense to you, but like there's other games I would have rather seen than like Ace Combat or Knack 2.
Well, Knack 2, sure, but
Like I would have rather seen Spider-Man.
eh.
No?
They'll show Spider-Man when Spider-Man's ready. I mean,
Well,
they're,
of course,
they're coming.
but you wouldn't rather see Spider-Man than some of these games here than Knack 2?
I'd rather see it than Knack 2, but apparently Knack 2 is going to happen, so we're just going to have to deal with it. That's where the minus was coming from.
Got ya.
And I was like, maybe an A minus, because I said A, and then in my head was like Knack, and I was like, oh, maybe an A minus because of Knack. All right.
All right, fair enough. All right, it's time for our trailer of the week this week. This week we chose a trailer for Final Fantasy 15. And I think we've done trailer of the week at least twice for Final Fantasy 15. But the reason I chose this one is because this is the first Final Fantasy trailer I think I've ever seen that was live action and wasn't just in-engine or CG from the game.
I can't think of any, but I also don't care, so...
Well, I do. I always like seeing like a real world interpretation of a video game world. I just do.
Yeah, I usually like it when I like the world in question. This is not so much. I really like the live-action Destiny commercials.
Yeah, those are good.
And I thought the live-action Dishonored 2 commercials were
The Halo
good.
ones are usually really good.
Yeah.
Well, here is a live-action trailer for Final Fantasy 15. It also is kind of a rip-off of Stand By Me, the movie.
Yeah, well...
It even uses a song.
So is the game.
I guess it is. Yeah.
At the beginning of the game, that's what the cover of Stand By Me is playing as they push the stupid car.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're right. So this is Final Fantasy 15 Stand Together live-action trailer.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. Be afraid, oh, I
like playing the game. Were as fun as that looked.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Great. We totally forgot to tell you guys to get questions in. So I don't know if you guys have any or not, but we'll answer a few here before we head on our way.
I like this one. The Legacy asks, since Horizon looks to be Sony's Legend of Zelda, which are you more excited for, and which do you think will be better?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Horizon or Zelda?
Oh boy. Right now, Horizon.
Agreed.
That's a tough one for
I don't
me.
know which will be better, but if I could only play one, Horizon.
It would be. I hate to say that, but I mean, it's just because they haven't shown us anything of Zelda.
Well, it's also because I played Zelda.
Yeah.
Horizon's super new to me.
Yeah.
I'm also very curious because I assume a baseline quality for Zelda. Horizon's such an X factor in a lot of ways.
But see, part of the fact that makes it a hard decision, though, is that I do know what Zelda is, and I really like that.
Yeah, true.
So that's what makes it a really tough decision for me, is like, I don't know. That's a really tough call, but I think right now, just because I know more about Horizon and what I've seen of Horizon, honestly looks like a better game. I hate to say it. Mm-hmm. I'd choose Horizon.
Same.
That could change. As soon as they show me a freaking dungeon for Zelda, that could completely freaking change. But that's what happens when you keep the game back. Like, it's hard to get excited about something you don't know anything about.
Nolan Elric asks, with the weird TV movie split, do I think we'll get TV series stars in Marvel vs. Capcom, Daredevil, or Punisher? I think we will get the TV characters in Marvel. I think we will see maybe Daredevil and those guys. Yes.
What about Jessica Jones or whatever?
Possible.
That would be. I've never even watched an episode of that. Is she really a superhero though?
Yeah, she's super strong. In the comics, she can fly a little bit, I think. I would guess that she would be like a summon.
Oh.
A summon or like a super kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I would think that maybe they're going to pick one person from the Netflix shows to kind of represent the Defenders, and like their super will be like all the Defenders from the Netflix shows jump in and beat the guy up or something. Kind of a Captain Commando style character. That would be my guess. I have no information about that at all, but that would be my guess.
Here's one from Justin Horman. If you could get any one person to help in any way with putting on the Game Awards next year, who would it be?
Ridley Scott.
Oh, you're aiming big.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I would say like Blair Butler, like the woman who used to write for X-Play and used to write our raps.
I'll make a serious call. I would bring in Kumail Nanjiani and have him from Silicon Valley and the Indoor Kids podcast. Like, he knows games. He knows the material. He knows presentation. He's very funny. I think he would be a good presence to have to kind of help steer that ship. Kumail Nanjiani would be my pick.
I just would say Blair, because I just think what that show needs is good writing. Writing, people don't realize writing is everything. Writing is the glue that holds everything together. Whether you're talking about a video review, and that's what made GT's video reviews so good and superior to video reviews once all the other sites started replicating our production process. And I got that from working at X-Play and working at G4 and Tech TV. And then brought it over to Game Trailers, that kind of production style, and just making sure that the writing is good. Writing can smooth over so many rough edges. Making somebody laugh will make them forget about so many bad things. And when you don't have that, people just dwell on the bad because they don't forget about the bad because there was nothing to offset it. So, and if it's not Blair, just a good writer, somebody to write snappy raps, snappy stuff for the people to say when they come up and present the awards. Writing is just huge, and so I just feel like the writing, if it were improved on the show, would make a big difference.
And if there are any more nominees that are involving deaths of family members, maybe brief the presenters first.
Here's one from Pot 2. What is the future of JRPGs?
Atlas. Smaller budgets, B-list games, Trails in the Sky kind of stuff, Persona. Final Fantasy is really the last AAA JRPG standing, and
Star Ocean.
Not after that last one.
The Tales series.
I don't know if I could call Tales AAA.
Yeah. That'd be level.
I think they're going to have a period of dormancy to some degree.
I mean, Persona 5 is a AAA JRPG.
To us, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's AAA in terms of sales or
It'll
high
probably
profile.
sell 3 or 4 million, I'm guessing, in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll
that's
see.
more than Titanfall 2 is going to sell.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, it's just not a genre that seems to catch fire anymore. And like the other thing is, like, different JRPG development teams don't seem to take lessons from the other successful ones very often anymore.
Yeah.
And like Persona 5 is gonna maybe Persona 5 blows up, maybe it sells 10 million copies. Is that going to influence any future JRPGs other than Persona games? Probably not. And like there doesn't seem to be any kind of like artistic give and take there anymore.
I don't think there is much of a future for them other than on mobile and on Nintendo Switch. When the 3DS goes away,
And PC, I think you'll see. There's a lot of stuff.
they'll port them over or whatever.
Oh, there's PC versions of all that. Not all of them come over here, but for the
Yeah.
most part, you get PC versions of all that stuff now because it's big in Japan, PC gaming.
But I
and
think-
all the visual novel stuff is on there.
Yeah, I think you'll see all those small studios that are doing 3DS JRPGs now, they'll probably just move over to Switch or over to mobile, which is probably will end up being the same thing. Like, you're going to see a lot
Yeah.
of mobile stuff on Switch anyway.
Actually, that reminds me, I have a question for you. Were you surprised at how much emphasis was placed on the Vita?
Yeah, they actually showed it and
Yeah.
acted like it was alive. Yeah, he held one up.
Yeah, you had one to keep holding up and say, "Oh, I'm on PlayStation Vita."
Yeah, I think maybe they were just having a little fun, maybe.
Somewhat. I also feel like he's probably just trying to make his social media life easier. That dude,
Yeah.
because it's like Vita has a small but insistent fan base.
Yeah.
and I'm sure he gets deluged with, "Is it on Vita? Is it on Vita? Is it on Vita?"
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, bro.
"Bro,
No.
is it an anime games about bouncing boobs?"
But
No,
yeah,
it's not on the
I was
Vita.
surprised. Like, it's the first press event they've had in
Yeah,
2
well,
years
yeah,
where they actually
they actually
showed
mentioned
or
it.
talked about
Yeah.
Vita. And at this point, like, it's really bizarre. Like, maybe Japan was like, bro, it's still doing pretty well here. Like,
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them for actually hanging out.
acknowledging its existence.
I mean, that's one of my problems and one of my concerns with Sony and the PlayStation VR was like their tendency to cut and run if something doesn't instantly become as successful as they hope. But like Vita gives me hope that they'll let PlayStation VR flourish over time.
Here's a good one from Nemec. Is Final Fantasy 15 foreshadowing what we are going to see in Kingdom Hearts 3? You guys have faith in Kingdom Hearts still?
Well, Kingdom Hearts has always had one of the dumbest stories I've ever seen, and I couldn't begin to explain to you what it is. But two things about Kingdom Hearts: A, I'm there for the Disney worlds and that stuff, and kind of like the visual look of that stuff. And B, the main difference to me between the Kingdom Hearts combat and like the Final Fantasy 15 combat is when I press a button in Kingdom Hearts, Sora swings the sword, swings the keyblade, and I press the button again, he swings it again. I am not holding down circle to just watch him.
Yeah, it's much
slay.
more
It's an action
responsive.
RPG in a much more responsive way, and so that's the. I
The
like,
controls
I like
in
how they
general
play.
are way better at
Yeah,
Kingdom
for
Hearts
sure.
than in Final Fantasy 15.
And they've only gotten better over time. I mean, I think 2's combat, while there was a little too much emphasis on QTE stuff, was better than 1's. And I think Birth by Sleeps was better than 2's.
Yeah.
I mean, they've progressed, and it seems to also be the series that Nomura is more invested in at this point. He certainly dresses more like the characters in that. I'll never forget that interview. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to it. I'm trying to remain.
I'm not going to let it. I don't ever let any game sour my opinion on a future game. I just don't do it. It's just something that you can't do as a critic. You
Yeah.
can't just assume that because one game is bad, another game is going to be also bad. You have to assume.
Except with Knack.
Yeah, except Mac.
That's okay.
That's because the concept is just so poor and flawed.
But like, I'm also excited. Like, look, next year we're getting at least 2, and if Kingdom Hearts 3 is further along than we think, maybe 3 Kingdom Hearts releases in 1 year. 2.8, and then the PS4
That'll never happen.
collection, and then near the end of the year, Japan might get Kingdom Hearts 3 by the end of the year.
That'll never happen.
Japan might get it. We won't.
It won't happen.
We'll see. I ain't drafting it, but
It won't happen. Here's one from Scorefear. Is that Sorefear from Sifted? Could Nintendo have gotten away with not releasing Breath of the Wild on the Wii U? Do you think it would be better for them to release it only on the Switch?
well, better in what respect? Like
Better for
them?
Nintendo financially, yeah.
Yes.
You think so?
I think if you look, it would piss a ton of people off. It would be a nasty anti-consumer move. but everybody would still buy that system to play it.
You're right.
Like, I would whine, everybody would whine, we'd all be pissed off at it, but in the end, do you
You're
want to
gonna
play
buy
Zelda or not? Yes, you do. Buy the Switch. Like, you could, I mean, it would basically, they'd be holding the game hostage on the new game system. But they could do it. There's not that many Wii U owners.
Yeah, but there won't be many Switch owners at all. They start at 0.
Right.
Like, I don't know. And if they're only talking about having like 2 million available in the launch window, that could really hurt the sales because, launch window's important, man. Like, a lot of people don't go back and play old games, like when they get a new system, unless it's bundled in with the system when they buy it. And so, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that, whether that would ultimately be good for Nintendo financially. I mean, it would help the Switch. It would help with the install base of the Switch.
It would be a huge boon to the Switch. It wouldn't be all that great for the Zelda game sales numerically.
And the profit margins on software, I mean, that's where Nintendo makes its money.
We have seen that Zelda stuff does have a long tail. Hyrule Warriors has sold semi-strongly for like 2 years now. It's also one of those games where, like, when you pick the system up, you pick that game up. Zelda is. So, I feel like that, Breath of the Wild could kind of remain a mainstay of the Switch for years to come. And it would just be one of those, it would be a little bit of a sacrificial lamb, but the main question is, like, would it piss enough people off that they don't get to play this Zelda game they've been promised on their Wii U for years?
Oh, yeah, it will.
Yeah, but would it piss them off enough not to buy
Switch?
the Switch? I don't think that would be very common.
I think I'd agree, not very common, but I think there are people who would absolutely not buy a Switch.
Yeah.
Not all those 10 million people that bought the Wii U are crazy, hardcore Nintendo fanboys. There are some people who just like Nintendo games and got it as like a second system, and like, those are the type of people that would be like, screw you, I'm not buying the Switch.
But that's also kind of what I did, and I am totally going to play the game on the Switch, not the Wii U, because I'd rather play the better version. And so,
are we sure it's the better version?
No, but I'm sure as hell hoping, because it better be.
Somebody did not watch.
It'd be super mean though to do that.
Somebody did not watch the Final Fantasy section. They were asking me, Brad, Bernie, and Shane. Final Fantasy 15, thumbs up or thumbs down? 2 thumbs down. I'll give you the double whammy on that one. I am not a fan. Watch the archive on the site. I pretty much fly off the handle.
Yeah, you were madder than I was about it, and I wasted almost 2 days of my life on it.
It's just frustrating to wait for something so long. And the other part of it, too, is that I have the juxtaposition of having played The Last Guardian last night, which was also in development for a really long time and seems to be delivering what it had promised. So, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy 15. And this is coming from someone who's not a huge JRPG guy, so keep that in mind.
Erebus Jones asks if we've been able to try the Battlefront X-Wing VR mission at all. I have not.
Me either. I have not had time, unfortunately.
I'll try to get to that so we can talk about it next time.
You know, so Vox is asking, what about Adam Sessler, like, working on the Game Awards? He was actually, like, he was the first person that came to mind. And then I started thinking really about it, and I thought a writer might actually end up making a bigger difference than Adam, but Adam would definitely help the award show if he worked on it.
That would help.
I think Matt and I would help the award show if we worked on it, to be honest with you. But it's the way it goes. Someone thanking us for being critical of Final Fantasy 15. Wow. Thanks for keeping it real. No problem, man. That's what we're here for. Let's answer 2 more. If there are others. More than 2.
Fruit Eater asks, as a fighting game noob, is there any accessible fighting games on the PS4? Well, there is Marvel vs. Capcom 3 that went up on the PS4 today. However, if you're a noob to fighting games, I would say pick up the latest Blaze Blue, because that game has a really detailed tutorial system that will help you learn more about just how 2D fighting games work. More than just about any other tutorial I've played, I think. So if you're looking for something that will kind of train you how to play those games a little better, the Blaze Blue games have really good tutorials.
Let's see. Here's one from Ex-Lord Xerxes. Do you think Zelda will have DLC, a la Dungeon DLC? You're worried about DLC already, brother?
It's a very good question.
It is.
I don't know.
Nintendo's been great with DLC. That is one thing of the Wii U era that I'm really impressed with, is how they handled the DLC for all its games.
Great in what regard? As in, like,
Every
substantial
regard,
DLC,
yeah.
or...
Like what you got for your money. A lot of times it was just free. What it actually was relevant.
I think the Smash Brothers DLC was overpriced.
I never even paid any attention to Smash DLC. I didn't play Smash Brothers hardly at all on Wii U.
It was $5 to $10 more than it should have been per each pack. I think was when they came out. The prices did drop, and there were deals you could get in sales. And that's the other thing is like. Nintendo's done much better about digital sales in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, but DLC, Dungeons, whatever, on Zelda...
Nintendo, here's the thing, Matt. Every Zelda game, Nintendo cuts at least one complete dungeon out of the game. And so if they just have that sitting on the floor, they finish the game, they give it 6 months, 8 months to breathe, what they put out on the disc, if it comes on a disc, and... then they start polishing up that last dungeon that they have, sell it for $10 or what? I mean, the DLC I was talking about specifically is Mario Kart. They did a great job with Mario Kart 8 DLC. It had me hooked. It had me coming back, which is something I really don't do with racing games generally. I kind of play through them, play multiplayer for a little while, don't come back because I don't have like roommates to sit around and play couch co-op with anymore. So I thought that Nintendo did a great job with DLC in the Wii U era. So
It's a really good question. I don't know. I'm a coin flip on that. I don't know if they do that, but at the same time, I don't know that they wouldn't.
Let's see. Do we have one more? Oh, here's the last one. Oh, I lost it.
Darmus57 asks, do you think there will be a Final Fantasy 16? Yes, there will be a Final Fantasy 16.
No doubt about it.
No question.
No doubt.
Maybe win less than 10 years this time.
All right. We're going to end it right there, folks. Been a great Saturday. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Don't forget, buy the damn shirts, people. I have hundreds and hundreds of shirts that still need to be sold. So please buy them. That would be great. By the way, everyone who's bought shirts, they're all out there. You guys should have all got tracking numbers with your shipments and everything. If you didn't, send an email to support@sifted.net, and we'll track it down and make sure you have your tracking number. I honestly have no idea how long it's going to take for those shirts to get to Europe.
Yeah, it could be a while.
You honestly may not get those shirts until like after Christmas, to be honest. But everything that was ordered was shipped out. I got a tweet on Twitter. Somebody was already rocking their shirt. They wore it to PSX today, which is awesome.
Nice.
We're thinking about even doing a contest where you buy a shirt and then you take a photo of you wearing the shirt somewhere where it might have a bunch of impact, or even if it's just a cool photo, and then maybe we give you the winner of the contest like a free game of their choice or something like that. So trying to find ways to get the shirts out there and motivate people to buy them. I personally just like them. I'm really happy with how they came out. So hopefully you guys agree, but get on that damn store and buy those shirts. It was one of those things where you invested, you put in the money to buy the shirts, and now I just have this room full of T-shirts, and I'm like, what happens if these never sell?
Someone asks, how do you buy them?
Free. You can't miss it. Just go sifted.net /# !/store, or you can just go to sifted.net, and at the top graphic, it's like the second one right now. It'll take you right to the store. So, but yeah, I'm like, what happens if these shirts never sell? Like, what do I do with them?
It'll be a huge quilt.
Because there is a lot left. Like, some of the designs there aren't. Like, the curved one, like the gold and the black, both some of the sizes are getting to where there's only like 1 or 2 left. So if you have extreme sizes, you should probably order them pretty quickly. But this shirt, there's a ton of them left. And then our stock tees, there's a ton left. So head on to the store and buy them. We appreciate it very much.
And go watch the new Platinum Journey, which kind of came out of nowhere this week.
New Platinum Journey. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, actually. It's something I have to mention. So, new Platinum Journey went up this week. Watch it. It is live. But I do have an announcement to make about the show. The show is going away. And I can explain why, but you probably know why. It's been 5 or 6 months since the last episode. And Adam, honestly, the guy who creates the show, he found another job, and he's working like crazy, and he loves his new job, and he's really dedicated to it. And he just hasn't had time to do the show. And I guess because he made a commitment to the site to do the show, and he hasn't been doing the show, it's supposed to be one every like 5 weeks. And we've been doing the show for like a year, and I think we have like 3 or 4 of them. So I think ultimately he feels a little bad that he hasn't been able to produce the show as much as he wanted to, or as much as he honestly had promised that he would. So I think he just doesn't want to do it anymore. It's just the guilt, I think, of not being able to get them done on time, and the amount of work and the amount of toil that goes into them. I think he's just had it. I think he said on down the road, when he has some more free time, he may put up some new episodes on his YouTube channel. If he were to do that, we'll be sure to curate them to Sifted. But yeah, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory is the last official episode of Platinum Journey for Sifted. So if we had taps here, we'd play it, but we don't. So that's it. Everybody have an awesome weekend. Thanks, everybody, for spending your Saturday afternoon, early evening, late night, if you're in Europe or whatever. We really appreciate you guys hanging out and hanging out to the end and asking the awesome questions at the end. So have a great Saturday night. We'll see you next week. GameFace is up and out.